What is happening, everybody? And it is time for another Stokastic NBA deeper dive. Josh still on vacation, celebrating his big win in MMA. And by the way, we're going to be doing a giveaway. We're going to have 1 week free of all of our MMA projections in honor of Josh winning 80 grand over the weekend. So be on the lookout for that in the coming days on social media. As you guys come into this show, though, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are sponsored by SoRare. Only a 4-game NBA slate, so Adam and I are going to be taking our time going through the games. We're going to leave no stone uncovered. But also, if you guys have any questions for us in Discord, at me. We're going to be able to answer all your questions over the course of the show. If you guys have questions in YouTube, we should be able to hit on some of those as well. But Adam, what's happening? How's your oh, sorry, I'll give you a second to sip your drink. I was getting ready to ask you a question that I saw as I started to do it. You started to take a drink. I was like, oh no.
As I picked it up, I was just like, oh, that was too late because I know Greg's about to ask how I'm doing.
How, other than being thirsty, you doing okay?
Yeah, doing well.
How was the slate for you last night? I'm trying to remember.
It was okay. Nothing great. I won one of the turbo slate tournaments for like $2,000. So had a profitable day. Nothing crazy though.
Nice. And I see we have Hannah Banana in chat. And I know that Hannah, because I saw some of Hannah's tweets at us yesterday, and Hannah ended up coming in, where was it? Sixth in the 20 max. In the 20 max $1, Hannah finished yesterday. So ended up being a profitable night for Hannah. And hopefully you guys were profitable as well yesterday. I remember I had a lot of issue trying to figure out which value plays I ultimately wanted to play last night, especially after the Toronto news broke. So I think it got to a point where I was just updating lineups and I didn't even know who it was totally that I had played going into the slate. I do feel like last night I played too much Will Barton, who I was really happy to late swap on, and then he sucked.
Yeah, I had a ton of Barton, a ton of Boucher. I ended up just playing a ton of Toronto in general. I had a lot of Pirtle, a lot of Siakam. Obviously, those worked out. But yeah, Will Barton killed a lot. I know my best lineup on the main slate finished like 110th, and everybody smashed except for it had Will Barton and O'Shea Brissett, who perfectly happy to have swapped to them. People did get to Barton. Brissett still only ended up being like 11%. So I thought that was a good play as well. But yeah, Brissett was, whatever. He scored like 17. Barton was actively terrible.
So here's what was really tough. I wish he just didn't start yesterday because he's been so terrible this year to an extent that doesn't even make sense, because not that he was great in the past, but he's at least been a decent enough fantasy producer. But it was really difficult to project him to start knowing how Nick Nurse usually runs his rotations and then not give him a sizable amount of minutes. And then he was going to look good kind of no matter what at that price point. And apparently he's just incapable of making shots now.
Yeah, I kind of said the same thing on the deeper dive yesterday, where it's like, if he starts, you kind of have to assume that as long as he plays relatively decent, he's going to get a bunch of minutes because it's Nick Nurse. But also, he's been one of the worst players in the NBA this season. That's why he's no longer on the Wizards. Like, trust me, the Wizards would have liked Will Barton to be playing a significant role in that rotation, and he just couldn't do it. So there was certainly risk there. But I mean, it's just one of those spots where if you give me that situation again, especially like we didn't know the Portland starting lineup at the time, there was no reason to think Shadon Sharp was like a favorite to start at 3,600. With the information we had at the time, like I'm just playing Will Barton every time and living with the results.
Same. And it was funny. I pulled up dunks and threes because I know Will Barton rates out as one of the worst players in the NBA. Over on dunks and threes is EPM rating. One of the only players in the NBA. So this is including everybody. He is 6th worst in the NBA. Ironically, though, 2nd worst is Ish Smith, and they got traded for each other. So
they did.
Quite the trade that ended up being, with the Ish Smith being flipped for Will Barton, at least that aspect. But in terms of players that are playing more than 15 minutes per game, the only player with a more negative EPM than Will Barton is Blake Wesley from the San Antonio Spurs. So congratulations to Will Barton. You suck, and you ruined a bunch of my lineups last night. So Will Barton, that was an ill-fated late swap to him. But like you, I don't really have any regrets about it. It's hard to not project somebody well when they're going to be playing that many minutes at such a cheap price point. But I do see a lot of people had some success last night. We have some people in chat were shouting out some of their wins. Wookie 23 says he won 5,000 winning an NBA single entry contest last night. Thanks, Stokastic. So shout out to Wookie for your win. Talked about Hannah before. Racefan 22 said he turned $80 into 210 last night. Says that he'll take it. Yeah, any kind of profit you should take, especially 1.5x your buy-ins right there. So seems like a lot of people did well in YouTube chat, which we always do love to see. And hopefully we could help you guys do well again on this slate. And we'll get right into it talking about the New York Knicks. against the Orlando Magic. And there are no two games with the same start time tonight. So staggered start times that should make it fun as far as a 4-game slate goes. And we've got injury news to talk about on the Knicks as well, Adam. Mitchell Robinson is questionable. Jalen Brunson is questionable. Now, Brunson just recently came back from injury. My gut feeling is based on these guys getting downgraded during the day, matchup against Orlando, where the Knicks are in the standings right now. I don't think Brunson or Robinson are going to play. Do you have any kind of read on the situation?
Same boat. The only thing is, I don't think it was technically a midday downgrade because this is a back-to-back. So it was just their injury report getting released when it did. And we like it seems like, and obviously you know this, but like to people watching, it seems like a midday downgrade because we didn't know they were questionable until 1:30 or whatever, but there was just no official news. Like when we do the strategy show for a team like the Knicks that's on a back-to-back, we're just guessing based on nothing. What happened the day before, whether or not they have guys that typically rest back-to-backs, but it's not like the Knicks had put out an injury report saying like, oh yeah, they're not on it. And then it was like, oh, they're questionable. We just found out they're questionable when the injury report came out. So that is a little bit different. It's not like we got an actual downgrade, but it is a back-to-back. It is a game they should win. The counterpoint, I guess, that I would make with Jalen Brunson in particular is he did just miss a bunch of games with, I believe, a different injury. So I could see the Knicks, kind of wanting him to play.
Yeah, so I think it was last night he sprained his hand while he was falling, and it was a foot injury, if I'm not mistaken, that he missed games before. But still, back-to-back, tail end of a back-to-back on the road in Orlando. And also, for what it's worth in this situation, the Knicks are only 2.5-point favorites. That does indicate to me the books are thinking that Brunson and or Robinson are going to sit, because I would expect the Knicks to be a bigger favorite in this spot if the team was totally healthy. But let's talk about some of the implications of this, starting with Jalen Brunson. If he does not play, who benefits from the Knicks?
Everybody, but Emmanuel quickly, just very quickly becomes phenomenal again. We went through this not very long ago where Emmanuel quickly just plays huge minutes when Brunson is out. He was, I think, up to like $7,100 or $7,600 or something like that during Brunson's absence. Now he's back down to $5,800 on DraftKings. If Brunson is in, I don't think you can really get to quickly unless, you're talking very large field tournaments and kind of just hoping to get lucky on the rotation, because typically he's going to be playing fewer minutes than Hart and RJ Barrett in that price range. But if Brunson's out, you're most likely getting quickly in the starting lineup and playing plenty of minutes and looking like one of the best values at 5,800.
Yeah. And by the way, Chris, I see your super chat. As soon as we're done talking about the Knicks, I am going to make sure we answer that. So Chris Albert's super chat, we appreciate you. Going to hit on that in a second here. And yeah, quickly 5,800 on DraftKings, 5,700 over on FanDuel. So we have seen a little bit of a price decrease. Same as you. He's going to start if Brunson's out. He's going to be one of the top plays on the slate. We have a pretty established baseline of what it looks like when quickly ends up starting, and then a little bit of more usage spread out everywhere else. Now, where things also get interesting is if Mitchell Robinson is ruled out, because it's not like there's a lot of usage to allocate elsewhere, but the front court minutes, we do know that those have to be spread out. And I am curious, what do you think would happen if Robinson is out? Because before we saw Jericho Sims move into the starting lineup, but Hartenstein seems to have solidified himself ahead of Sims in the rotation. Do you think that means that Hartenstein would start if Robinson doesn't play?
I'm not really sure. I think that you get 48 minutes or at least close to it from Hartenstein plus Sims. I'm not sure which of them would start. The last game that Robinson was out was back on February 15th. Jericho Sims started. He played 21 and a half minutes. Hartenstein played 26 and a half. One way or the other, I think you would project Hartenstein for more minutes, whether he's starting or not. I think it's likely that he would be the favorite to play the most minutes out of the group, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just want to keep him with that second unit, have, Jericho Sims get the spot start, play like 22 minutes, and then Hartenstein get the other 26. So I don't care too much who starts. I think if Sims starts, I probably look at it like 22 minutes for Sims, 24, 26 for Hartenstein. If Hartenstein starts, that gives you the possibility that you just get like 30 plus from Hartenstein. Whereas I don't think Jericho Sims is ever really playing 30 plus unless Hartenstein gets in foul trouble. So that would be why a reason I guess that Hartenstein looks a little bit better if he does start. But either way, I'm going to like I'm going to think Hartenstein's the better play here, and Sims is more of like a tournament flyer. The nice thing about Sims is that he is power forward eligible at the 3K minimum.
Yeah, let me look. What are the overall numbers for Sims as a starter this year? I know we saw Robinson miss about a month. He missed, it was like the end of February to the end of March, to the end of January to the end of February, I think it was the time that we saw Mitchell Robinson miss. So we have now seen 16 starts this year for Jericho Sims. In those starts, 25 minutes per game, 15 fantasy points. So pretty interesting how big of a drop off he's had as a pointsman and fantasy producer as a starter relative to a reserve. As a reserve this year, 11 and a half minutes per game, 10 fantasy points. And like I said, as a starter, 25 minutes per game, 15 fantasy points. Is there anything that makes you think that his points per minute production would be going up long-term as a starter? Or is he just going to be way worse as a points per minute guy as a starter as compared to a reserve player?
I assume he's just going to be worse. I mean, in those 16 starts, he has a 6.3% usage rate. That happens when you're playing with Randall, Barrett, Brunson. And then also, a decent chunk of his overall reserve minutes are just, garbage time run as well, considering that for a lot of the season, he hasn't even been in the rotation. So I do expect, maybe it comes up a little bit, but I think that the more minutes he plays in general, the lower his point per minute production is going to be.
Makes sense. And then let's talk about the possible scenarios where, let's say Brunson and Robinson both end up playing. Who would look good on the Knicks in that scenario? So we've got Brunson in, we've got Robinson in. We find out the Knicks are totally healthy. Which guys would you want to be playing in DFS, if anybody?
Yeah, I mean, even if those guys are in, this is a really appealing team. There's 7 guys right now on DraftKings that are projected for at least 10% ownership. Only 2 of them north of 20. But if Brunson's in, he's only 7,800. That's a pretty appealing price tag. If he's in, I assume he's just playing full minutes. Since he returned from his injury, he's played 32 minutes and then 37 and change. So I don't expect him to be limited if he plays, and that's going to make him look good. If Robinson is in, you have seen his playing time come down a bit recently. Hartenstein's been playing well off the bench, but you can still expect around 26 minutes from Robinson if he's in, with the potential to, maybe play a little bit more. He's only 4,600, and with this being a 4-game slate, there's not as much opportunity cost at center. Also, there's no Jokic, no Embiid, no Anthony Davis at the top, so there's not as much opportunity cost at center. So he looks fine. Those are the 2 guys pulling north of 20%. But then a $9,100 salary for Julius Randle playing around 36 minutes, no problems with that. RJ Barrett typically giving you around 32 to 34. Josh Hart should be at 28 to 30. Quentin Grimes should be in the low 20s at only 3,400. And then you have Isaiah Hartenstein backing up Robinson. I wouldn't want them in the same lineup, but if you're projecting 26, 27 minutes for Robinson, that means you're projecting 21, 22 for Hartenstein, which certainly works at 3,700 as well.
Yeah, and looking through the lineups that I've built so far, I got the most exposure to Jalen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson. At least as of now, I did build lineups assuming everybody was in. Brunson, Robinson, I came in overweight to both of them, although I do assume their ownership projections would go up if we were to find out that they're in ahead of the start of the slate. And then RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, I came in about even to the field on, and then some flyers ended up coming in on Quentin Grimes, Isaiah Hartenstein, Josh Hart. Is there anybody you look at as a deep tournament play towards the tail end of the Knicks bench? Because this is a 4-game slate, so we'd be a little bit more, I guess we'll say, liberal with who we're willing to take chances on.
The only one, and I mentioned it before, would be Quickly. Right now with everybody projected in, Quickly's only projected for less than 1% ownership. And I get it because he's likely to play fewer minutes than Hart and Barrett, but things happen. And Emmanuel Quickly is a good point per minute guy. If the rotate, if he just comes off the bench and plays really well, maybe he takes minutes from RJ Barrett, or maybe he takes minutes from Josh Hart, in this one game. So I don't think I would actually really get there. But if I had to point to anything else, like your only 2 real options, if everybody is in that we haven't named, are Quickly and Toppin, and I would go to Quickly first, I guess.
And that did happen 2 games ago, by the way. We had the game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. There was a 1,000,000 points scored. The Knicks lost that game 134-140. Quickly played most of the fourth quarter minutes ahead of RJ Barrett. So we did get 28 minutes out of Quickly. So just to echo what it was you were saying before, we've seen the scenario where Quickly closes over Barrett, and we've seen it as recently as 2 games ago. So before we move on, we'll answer the super chat we have from Chris Albers. Chris wants to know first, do you hear Avenged Sevenfold's new song yet? I have no clue what the hell you're talking about. Do you know what that is, Adam?
I mean, I know it's a band. I haven't heard their new song.
Yeah, but I also am aware it's a band. I don't know what kind of music they make. I assume Eric knows most of their lyrics and he could sing them off the top of his head.
There's no chance Eric knows their lyrics. Eric is way too happy a person for Avenged Sevenfold.
I don't know. I think he knows everything. I think he's secretly very unhappy, though.
True. Yeah, Eric just jams out to metal when he's in the shower.
If you ask me what Eric was like in middle school, and I don't know, right? I only met Eric a few years ago. I'm going to say that he was emo.
Eric?
Yeah, I think he was emo when he was like 15 years old.
There is no chance in hell.
Absolutely. I think he wore the black eyeliner. I think he used to, that's how, because we know he wears makeup on shows now. I think that's how he first started to transition into it. But yeah, I think every day he used to wear black eyeliner or went to school and he would straighten his hair.
Eric 100% has owned at least 4 puka shell necklaces in his lifetime.
That's probably also true. I think he's gone through a lot of stages.
That's
I think
fair.
he's gone through a lot of different phases over the course of his life. But I think emo was certainly in the mix. So I'm going to assume that, and I also don't even know if Avenged Sevenfold would fall into the emo category. But I'm going to say, Chris, come back for Live Before Lock, which is on after us, and we'll see. I'm going to make sure that Eric knows in between shows. I'm going to ask if he knows Avenged Sevenfold songs. The DFS portion of Chris's question: who are our top favorite plays of the day, position by position? And then he says, let's get this money. You guys rock. So in terms of the lineups that I have built out right now, one of my favorite point guard plays is Jalen Brunson, but part of that is also because I think his ownership is too low at the moment, subject to change, obviously, if he's ruled in, if he's ruled out, or what his ownership ends up being. But the point guards I got the most exposure to, at least in my initial run, was Cole Anthony and Jalen Brunson. Who are some of the point guards who just overall stand out the most to you?
Yeah, I'm with you on those two. I'll add Darius Garland to that at point guard.
Yep. I got Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland actually right behind those guys and fairly close. Don Mitchell also has shooting guard eligibility. He was somebody I got a good amount of at shooting guard, as well as Cole Anthony, who I mentioned before. Shooting guard, though, I'm looking at just my initial runs. I got to a ton of guys in like 8 to 10% of lineups and not too many standouts. The only players I really got well above that was Cole Anthony, who also has point guard eligibility, and then Donovan Mitchell. Anything else that really stands out to you at shooting guard?
No, I was going to say those are the only 2 shooting guards that really stand out. If I had to name a third, I guess I'd go to like Kelly Oubre.
Yeah, Oubre I had 11.5% of in the first run I did. Small forward, this is where things start to materialize a little bit in terms of top plays. I think Kawhi Leonard's one of the best pay-up options on the slate, especially without Paul George. Gordon Hayward, also small forward eligible, ended up getting to him. Franz Wagner, another good small forward option. I like Barrett as is, and then Barrett would really stand out if we were to see no Brunson. But Kawhi Leonard, a top pay-up option on the slate, somebody who's hard to avoid. What stands out to you at small forward?
Same ones. I'll save Kawhi for power forward, so I'll take Hayward here.
And then power forward for me, Kawhi, and then none of the options look great behind him. Like I'm getting to just riffraff. Dorian Finney-Smith, Nick Batum, Najee Marshall, a lot of cheap guys at power forward other than Kawhi, I think is the overall clear top option. And then it's just a lot of shitty punt guys in general, or guys that have potential for extended minutes or upside. Like Larry Nance ended up popping up in 18% of the lineups I ran. Julius Randle is going to be a key player for me for sure if Brunson's ruled out, but power forward outside of Kawhi, is there anything that really stands out to you?
I like Evan Mobley quite a bit, but I think Kawhi is the clear one.
Yeah, that's how I look at it as well. And then center, Jared Allen. I like Allen a lot. To me, Allen's just underpriced right now. I don't have any concerns about his minutes. He's coming back. I think he should be relatively healthy. So Jared Allen, Nick Richards, and Mitchell Robinson as of now, those are the 3 centers I got the most exposure to. How about you at center?
Yeah, same boat there.
All right, there we go. Looks like we're going to have similar rooting interests today. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing. And then Chris, like I said, we'll follow up on the Avenged Sevenfold later on. Another super chat from Ace of Spade, and I could answer this because he asked us his usual question. By the way, Ace of Spade, I get into the show for pregame with Jordan. We sit here for 15 minutes, and Jordan can tell you what's the first thing I said when I came in. I said, I better run my DK tiers lineups for Ace of Spade because I know he's going to leave the super chat about 15, 20 minutes into the show, and I have to be prepared. Tier 1, Kawhi Leonard. Tier 2, Brandon Ingram. Tier 3 for me, Russell Westbrook, just benefiting from the absence of Paul George. I don't really know exactly what to make of Westbrook's minutes. We'll talk about that later, but I like the upside. I think it makes sense in tier 3 for DK tiers. Tier 4, Jonas Valanciunas. Tier 5, I got to Wendell Carter Jr. the most. And then tier 6, Jared Allen, who I also talked about before, liking as a center option. So Ace of Spade, thank you for the super chat, and I hope that helps you build out your lineups. Now let's move to the other side of the game. The Orlando Magic taking on the New York Knicks. Now from the Orlando side, we don't have any real big injury news for Orlando. Jalen Suggs is out, and then we've also got Jonathan Isaac, who is out for the season. But the absence of Jalen Suggs, it's one of the reasons that I do end up getting to, I think, more Cole Anthony as I was building out lineups. There's not a ton of points per minute pricing value right now. And the extra playing time that we're filling in the absence of Jalen Suggs, it seems most reasonable to me it would go to Cole Anthony. So it makes to me Anthony one of the top value options on the slate. Why do you like Cole Anthony? Because I knew you agreed before and said he was somebody getting good amount of exposure to.
Yeah, it's just a cheap price tag for him. And, again, with this being a 4-gamer, you don't have quite as much opportunity cost. And then also, sort of as we alluded to just now when we were talking about the best plays, shooting guard's pretty thin. Point guard has plenty of options, but being able to slide Cole Anthony over to that 2-guard spot certainly just increases his usefulness here. And that's why we have him with a 26% chance of being optimal. That optimal percentage does factor in just how easy it is to get him into lineups. And so typically, when we talk about MPE, we typically point it out either when guys have power forward, even though they're playing center, or when guys have guard and forward, because that opens up the most spots. But on this particular slate, being shooting guard eligible is actually really useful. He's likely to give you 28 to 30 minutes with no Jalen Suggs. That just helps solidify those minutes. But there's a chance he could play more. Like last game, he got the 30 minutes, but they closed with Gary Harris. Gary Harris was playing really, really well. 2 games ago, Anthony closed over Harris, still only got to like 28 minutes. There's some, chance that those two things merge together and you get like 32 minutes from Anthony. But on average, expecting around 28 to 30, probably 28 is a medium projection. At 5,600, it's just going to make him look good.
Yeah, that's how I saw it as well. And I never feel great about the minutes for some of the backcourt guys for Orlando, but on a 4-game slate, it just makes sense to get to Cole Anthony because, like you said, we don't have quite as many options. But outside of him, who are the other players from Orlando that might be standing out tonight?
Yeah, it's just kind of other than Anthony, just going through the starters. Gary Harris is an exception. Not that he can't have a good game, but he's 4,200. You got a pretty sizable price bump for him after that last one. So excluding him for the sake of this conversation, Banchero, Franz Wagner, Fultz, Carter, all just look pretty similar to me relative to each other and relative to their prices and positions. None of them have MPE, so that's keeping them from being more popular than they otherwise would be. But that you're typically getting mid-30s in minutes from Banchero. You're getting low to mid-30s from Carter and Fultz. Typically, Franz Wagner is giving you around 32, but he played 39 last game, so that's at least on the table. All 4 of those guys, even though it's not a great matchup, just look like pretty easy plays to get to.
Yeah, no, definitely makes sense. And then before I mentioned the Knicks and asked if there was any deep tournament flyers that you were willing to take on them with it being a 4-game slate, I don't see anything I'd be willing to take a chance on in Orlando. Is there anything that that you think over the course of a lot of lineups that somebody should be taking a few shots on?
So if you guaranteed me that if you guaranteed me Orlando was going to run the same rotation as last game, where Mo Wagner's the backup center, then I would say $3,700 Mo Wagner, because if Carter gets in foul trouble, we know that Wagner can put up big numbers. But we've also seen Goga Bitadze have that role. A couple of games ago, you got 1/2 from Wagner, and then you got 1/2 from Bitadze. Then I think it was 2 games in a row where Bitadze was the backup. Then last game it was Wagner. I assume it's Wagner today. I have no idea, though. So that just adds to the risk there. We've seen that before with like Indiana, with Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson. It'll be like, oh, well, we have a $3,300 Isaiah Jackson. Maybe if Miles Turner gets in foul trouble, he wins us the slate. And then Indiana's like, oh, well, we're playing Jalen Smith today, even though he hasn't been around for a week. So you just get the added risk on top of the playing a random backup center risk.
Yeah, we've seen the minutes really all over the place for Mo Wagner as of late. You mentioned played the backup center minutes. Last game played 14 minutes. DNP coach's decision. The 2 games before that, the game before that, he played 7 minutes. In the game before that, 19 minutes. So all over the place in terms of playing time. Definitely running into the risk of a DNP if you're going and rostering him, just because they might even decide Bobo is playing the backup center minutes. It's really hard to know what some of those playing times are going to look like. But anything else you want to add from Orlando?
No.
All right. So we're sponsored today by SoRare, guys. And if you have not checked out SoRare, do it. You can do it totally for free. Make an account. It's a really fun site to play on. Also, coming in the near future, next week, we're going to be doing some leagues where we are going to be giving away actual prizes related to Stokastic. It's going to be free to play in, and all you're going to have to do is join the league, build out a lineup. So start getting yourself familiar with SoRare, because you have a chance to win some subscriptions over at Stokastic starting next week by signing up over at SoRare. And also, if you sign up using our link, if you decide you want to buy some player cards, the first 5 limited card players you purchase, you're going to get a 6th one totally for free. Great way to help build out your lineup. And what SoRare is, it's basically collectible player cards that you could play DFS lineups with and win some prizes over there. And some go for a lot of money. There was a 1-of-1 Giannis that now it's about a month and a half ago, ended up selling for nearly $200,000. So there are some really rare prizes that you could win over at SoRare. And then, like I said, too, we're going to be starting a league next week, and it's going to have some Stokastic prize we're giving away there. So guys, go check out So Rare. Sign up totally for free using the link that we have below. Now let's move on to the next game, the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Brooklyn Nets. This game has by far the lowest total on the slate, 219 points. But starting with the Cleveland side of the game, we have no real major injury news with Cleveland either. Jared Allen's back in the mix. He's looking pretty good. He's one of my favorite overall centers on the play. Overall center plays on the entire slate. I think that he's a little bit underpriced on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Just starting with Jared Allen, what do you make of his price point, particularly at 6,300 on DK?
I think he looks great. He returned last game, played 35 minutes, so there wasn't any sort of minutes restriction. Obviously he's not going to average 35 minutes, but we don't have to worry about any sort of restriction. He came right back, just played, his normal minutes. He's really cheap for his role here. Like typically you're getting 33 minutes or so. Some games you'll get a couple more. He stands out as, to me, clearly one of the best centers.
Yeah, that's how I view it as well. And then even if we talk about him on FanDuel, where he's more expensive, here's why I get to him on FanDuel. He may be $7,700, but he has power forward eligibility on FanDuel. You can play him at power forward or center. So DraftKings, he's too cheap. FanDuel, they just randomly decided he's a power forward in addition to a center over there. So I think there's reason to get to Jared Allen on both sites. But now as for the rest of the players on the Cavaliers and the pay-up options, like Donovan Mitchell, like Darius Garland, what stands out to you on the high end for Cleveland?
Garland. So the pricing on DraftKings is really soft on Cleveland. Darius Garland at 7,200 looks extremely good. He's pulling 24% ownership. Donovan Mitchell at 8,400 also looks extremely good. He is more expensive on FanDuel, and I think he's still playable on FanDuel, but you're at least paying like a correct price for him at 9,700. But it makes him a good contrarian play there. On DraftKings though, 8,400 is just too cheap for Donovan Mitchell playing, 36, 37 minutes. Same goes for Garland. Evan Mobley, I mentioned, a few minutes ago, but only 7,300 as well. He's getting backup center minutes, so not as productive as when he was starting at the 5 without Jared Allen, but you're still getting those backup minutes now that, Kevin Love is gone. Mobley's getting those minutes. He's likely to give you mid-30s. All 4 of those guys just look very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, all of them, especially because it's only a 4-game slate and there isn't that much pricing value on DraftKings. I did end up getting to a bunch of these guys mentioned before when we're going over our most rostered players. Jared Allen ended up being somebody I brought up there. Donovan Mitchell, you'd brought up Darius Garland. There's a lot of guys to like here from Cleveland. And then even if you look on the cheap end, we've got Ricky Rubio picking up double-digit ownership. What do you make of Rubio as a value option when he is projected to be 11% owned on DK at 3,600?
I get it because he's probably going to play 18 to 20 minutes. He projects as a decent point per dollar play. I just don't really know how necessary he is on this slate, especially given the ownership, because at that ownership, it's not like you're saying, oh, well, he's 3% owned. If he just happens to go out there and score 28, 30 points, I have kind of a clear path to the top of tournaments. You're getting a bunch of ownership there. I'm not really sure what it's opening up for you. Just because we don't have true pay-up options on this slate. We do have a lot of good point guards on this slate, and the mid-range on this slate is also noticeably underpriced when you talk about, Darius Garland, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell. I think he's a good value, but I'm just not sure at that ownership how much I'm going to end up getting to, because I think I can build very good lineups that don't include a double-digit owned guy playing 18 minutes.
And is there anybody else to be willing to take a shot on from Cleveland that comes off the bench, whether it be Karis LeVert or Cedi Osman or anybody like that?
Any of LeVert, Okoro, Cedi are fine in your largest field tournaments. You're probably getting around 30 minutes from LeVert. You don't get the same level of point per minute production from him that you do when Mitchell and Garland are both in, as you do when one or both of them are out. But the minutes should still be there. He's still relatively cheap. He does have that shooting guard eligibility that we were talking about, is pretty valuable on this slate. Okoro, not a good fantasy point per minute guy, but the nice thing about him, the nice thing about Cedi is if they're playing well, they can find their way into more minutes. So I don't have any confidence in any of those guys, but it's not very hard to imagine, how they end up being useful. I don't exactly think that $3,600 point guard only Rubio should be 3 times as popular as $3,700 shooting guard small forward Okoro.
So let's talk about the Nets on the other side of the game. And regrettably, I think the player I'm getting the most exposure to from the Nets is Dorian Finney-Smith, but it's just a price point thing. I get that he's been terrible lately, but if you're going to tell me he's going to start and is more than likely and all likely to play mid-20s minutes, I view him as a viable value option, particularly on DraftKings where the power forward position just sucks. I don't feel great about it because Dorian Finney-Smith has been such a poor points per minute fantasy producer from the Nets. But if he's going to play 24 to 26 minutes at this cheap of a price, it makes him somebody worth rostering at power forward. But how do you weigh that with the fact that he sucks and probably shouldn't project all that well?
Yeah, it's kind of a tricky spot there because not only is he terrible on a point per minute basis, he's at about 0.6 DraftKings points per minute since joining the Nets, but the playing time hasn't been consistent either. So it's not even like you're talking about just like biting the bullet and saying like, well, I know this guy's going to be out there playing defense for 35 minutes. Hopefully he runs into some stats and, I get lucky at 3,900. There's the risk that he doesn't even play that many minutes. So it's kind of similar to Rubio for me, where I think Finney-Smith's fine. I think he's a decent value. I don't love playing him at this ownership just because I think I can probably build lineups that are good and just don't have him.
Yeah, and I do think he's going under-owned right now just because we do have a lack of value and there's going to be minutes there. So I'm going to end up being overweight to the field on DFS, assuming that his ownership does hold. Outside of him, though, it's hard for me to find anything I love from the Nets. Like, I understand Mikal Bridges. He's a little bit cheaper, particularly on DraftKings than he's been. He's taken on a big role, but I kind of think the ownership is about appropriate, and the matchup is so difficult. We've got the Cleveland Cavaliers, one of the best defense in the NBA, also play at a slow pace. So outside of Dorian Finney-Smith, what else stands out to you about the Nets, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, it is a difficult matchup. I do like the relative lack of ownership coming in, though, to Bridges and to Claxton. Like I prefer, for example, the other side of this game. I prefer getting to Darius Garland. I prefer getting to Donovan Mitchell compared to Mikal Bridges. I prefer getting to Jared Allen compared to Nick Claxton, but that's also everybody's opinion. I don't really think that you should be getting a situation where Mitchell and Garland are nearly double the ownership of Bridges, where Allen is more than double the ownership, basically 2.5 times the ownership of Nick Claxton. I think from a tournament standpoint, those guys are interesting. But in terms of like across a bunch of lineups, who do I have the more exposure to? I would expect it to be the Cleveland guys. But within tournament lineups, I think moving some of that to Mikal Bridges or Claxton or even Dinwiddie at 10% owned, or even Cam Johnson at 6,500. I think all four of those guys are just like strong, relatively contrarian tournament plays, all pulling like 10 to 13% ownership on a 4-gamer.
And a super chat from Shane Daly. He says that he pictures Lindquist as a Seth Green character when he was in high school from Can't Hardly Wait. So for me, if I had to pick out some sort of movie/TV character for Eric, I would go with Steve Urkel from Family Matters. I think that there's just I assume that's how Eric dressed at points in times. Like I said, I think Eric went through a lot of phases. And I think at one time he was probably a nerdy black guy in high school. Just a reasonable guess, at least for me, how I view Eric Lindquist. But he also has a basketball question here. Oubre or Garland. If it's a 1v1, I have more exposure to Garland right now.
Yeah, I would expect to have more of Garland.
And then getting back to the Cleveland or to the Nets side against Cleveland, any deep tournament flyers that you see from the Nets?
Not really. Actually, Daron Sharp, if you had to pick one. He has been getting the backup center minutes behind Claxton. If you get Claxton foul trouble here, you're probably getting more minutes from Sharp. Again, not any sort of a priority, but 5% chance of being optimal right now, sub 1% ownership.
And another super chat here from Chris Albers. How do you play these slates where there isn't good value? Like mid-range, you got 5K guys that can maybe give you 30 points. So what's the secret? Well, just keep this as a point of reference as well. The lineups are going to be lower scoring, right? Like it's not like you're looking at this and being like, oh, I need the same 380 points on this 4-game slate that I needed on a value pack 10-game slate. It's still just the best options available. So one thing that I think is a little bit different about the 4-game slate, which is what Adam and I are talking through right now, is that I think it's reasonable to look for like, all right, who are some bench guys that have upside if they get the playing time? And I'd be more apt to play them on this kind of slate than say on like a 10 or 11 game slate.
Yeah, for sure. And that's basically just an opportunity cost argument. If you have a 10-game slate where you have 14 good starting centers, there's no reason to even think about somebody like Daron Sharp or Mo Wagner. Whereas on this slate where, you have 4 total games, it just becomes a little bit easier where like if one of those guys, it becomes easier to envision like one of those guys actually ending up being a good play if they happen to luck into minutes. So, but yeah, like you said, it's all relative. Like you're just not likely to need as many points tonight either.
Yeah. So don't look at it as like, oh, I don't know how my lineup's going to score 360 points. You're not going to need it tonight. It's just different outlook of the slate. Just assume the lineups are going to be lower scoring. And when you're crunching lineups, if you're in Fantasy Cruncher and you're like, oh no, these lineups are only projected for, 270 points or whatever, it's cool. It's no real big issue. if your lineups are projected to be lower scoring, because that's what happens when there's less value. By the way, here's going to be the easiest way for you guys to make money today. It's only going to apply to people living in a handful of states, but our Bet365 deal that we have right now only applies to people who live in New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, or Virginia. But if you bet $1 when you sign up at Bet365 and you live in one of those states, you're going to get $365 in bonus bets. This is a really easy offer to take advantage of and put some extra money in your pocket and help building out a sports betting bankroll. Just sign up below if you live in either New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, Virginia. Collect your $365 from Bet365 on a $1 bet. They're going to pay that out instantly, regardless if that $1 bet wins or loses. Now, we've got 2 games left here to talk about. The next one is the Charlotte Hornets, CHA. Charlotte Hornets against the New Orleans Pelicans. From the Charlotte side of the game, Nick Richards did sign a contract extension last night, so he is now a solidified role. So looks like he really benefited from that injury to Mark Williams. This is also a team I get a good amount of exposure to. Gordon Hayward, Nick Richards. I think these are 2 of the better mid-range plays on the slate, just because of some of that upside that we mentioned before. If Nick Richards can avoid foul trouble, he's shown to be a decent points per minute fantasy producer. I like getting him at center. Gordon Hayward, we've seen him take on some bigger role as of late, so he's massively popular. Starting with Gordon Hayward, who's projected for right around 30% ownership. Good chalk or bad chalk, Adam?
I think it's good. I have a crunch running right now just to sort of see, not sorting through lineups or anything, just sort of seeing like what's showing up for me. And he's showing up 30% of the time. So, ownership agnostic, I think he should be around 30% owned. So I don't have any issue with that. It's just a very cheap price tag for somebody playing around 34 minutes that is at a relatively weak position. We have a lot of centers we like. We have a lot of point guards we like. We don't have that many forwards that we like. And 5,700 just really stands out for him.
Yeah, I got to a whole bunch of Gordon Hayward. And if you look at some of the upside we've seen, he's not been consistent, but he's had some massive games. I mean, he put 35 fantasy points up in the last game. We saw a game like a week and a half ago against the Knicks where we went for nearly 50. So we've seen that kind of ceiling from Gordon Hayward in the mid-range that could certainly unlock some stuff. Nick Richards is somebody who I view kind of similar. There's a little bit more of an opportunity cost because of his position. By the way, we just got news. Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, game time decisions. But Nick Richards as a center, I said I was getting to him a decent amount. Do you view him as being good or bad chalk today?
Good also. So we have a lot of centers that we like, but most of them are like $1,000 plus more expensive than Richards. So it just makes him a little bit easier to get to. And to the previous conversation, we don't have a lot of true cheap value on the slate. So taking somebody like a 5K Richards is just going to help open up some other stuff so that maybe I don't have to play as much Dorian Finney-Smith or Ricky Rubio or guys like that. So, he's likely to give you 26, 28 minutes. He's not a bad point per minute guy, and he's just really cheap. So I think he's another one where, would I prefer that he were lower than 26% owned? Of course, but I think he should be in the low to mid 20s.
And then we've got one other piece of chalk from Charlotte, and it is Dennis Smith Jr. He is playing decent minutes as of late, dropped a little bit to only 26 minutes last game. He has shot incredibly poorly from the field as of late, insanely poorly. Last game, Dennis Smith Jr. goes 1 of 10 from the field. The game before, 2 of 11. The game before that, he had lower usage and was 3 of 6 from the field. Before that, 5 of 14, 4 of 11. So the third piece of chalk we're getting from the Charlotte Hornets, and my least favorite at the moment, Dennis Smith Jr. What do you make of all the ownership going to him?
Yeah, so I think Dennis Smith Jr. is fine. I think 5,100 is like a correct price tag. I do think people might be getting a little bit too comfortable with his playing time. Looking at that last game, like you said, you got 26 minutes from Dennis Smith Jr. He also played in that game. He played the final 2 minutes and 13 seconds of the first half. You had Oubre not out there during that stretch. That's fine. Whatever. He got to 26 minutes. He didn't close. They went with a completely reasonable closing lineup of their starting lineup. So in games where they close with their starting lineup, you're probably getting 25, 26 minutes from Dennis Smith Jr. When you go back to previous games, you had a game where Dennis Smith Jr. played the final 18 minutes of the game against Philadelphia. That was a blowout loss. He just played all the garbage time. Like, he played the final 7 minutes of the game alongside JT Thor, Kai Jones, Bryce McGowens, and Svi Mikhailuk. Those minutes do not signify anything like that you expect going forward. In the first half of that game, he played about 13 and a half minutes. So again, you're looking around 26 minutes or so based on, that first half rotation. The game before that against Cleveland, played 32 minutes, played the final 4 minutes of the game alongside Thor, McGowan, Jones, and Mikhailuk. We don't know what they were going to go with in that game. Nick Richards did not play at all down the stretch of that game. He didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. So we don't know, were they going to close with PJ Washington at the 5 and Dennis Smith Jr. was going to be out there, or were they going to go back to Nick Richards? So there is the potential for Smith to be in a closing lineup where like Nick Richards isn't in and PJ Washington closes at the 5. But I do think people are sort of just overlooking the fact that you had a couple of blowouts where Dennis Smith Jr. got garbage time. And then you also had that game where I don't remember if it was Rozier or Oubre sat and Dennis Smith Jr. started and played 37 minutes. So if you're just looking at game logs, you can kind of get trapped into like, oh, well, he's probably playing 30 plus. On average, I expect like 26 minutes from him, which again, at 5,100 is fine. But I think he might be going a little bit over projected.
Yeah, you're talking about the game, if I'm not mistaken, on March 12th. It was the tail end of a back-to-back. There was no Kelly Oubre. We saw Dennis Smith Jr. start in his place. And like you said, 37 minutes in that game from Dennis Smith Jr. And yeah, last game, he shot poorly from the field. His minutes went down to 26 minutes. The games before that were blowouts. He got garbage time run. He played 32 and 32 minutes. The games before that, which may be the more accurate indicator of what his minutes will be, he played 25, 23, and 24 minutes, a little bit more in line with the 26 he played last game. I imagine I'm going to be underweight to the field on Dennis Smith Jr. based on what his current ownership is. Now let's look at the other players from the Hornets because nobody else is all that popular. We've got some ownership going to Rozier, 15%, nothing crazy for a 4-game slate, 9% to Oubre, 13% for PJ Washington. So if we're going to this next tier of the Hornets players, guys who are a little bit more expensive, picking up, 9 to 15% ownership between Rozier, Oubre, and PJ Washington. What do you make of this group of guys?
They're pretty much they're kind of similar to the Nets, where I think that they're good plays. I don't think they're as good. Like if somebody were to say to me like, "Oh, I love Terry Rozier today," I can pretty quickly just start naming guys that I like more than Terry Rozier. But that's the consensus also. And they are good enough plays that, pulling 10, 11, 12% ownership on a 4-game slate does make them appealing because you're likely getting 36 to 38 minutes from Rozier and Oubre. You're likely getting low to mid 30s from PJ Washington. And they're pretty low owned because people realize that, you can save $1,000 off of Rozier and play Darius Garland, for example. So all three of them just sort of give you guys where they're not priorities, but if you just kind of pick out some of the chalk around them, even though it's guys that I like better, like Garland, if somebody laid you 2-1 odds on Darius Garland versus Terry Rozier, not, a perfect example because Rozier is a little bit more expensive, but you would take that every time. It shouldn't be that big of a gap. So I think that they're just good pieces to lower the ownership of tournament lineups here and there, but they're not guys that I would expect to be building around.
Yeah, and for reference, the difference in our projection between them, we have Garland at 7,200 projected for 36 fantasy points, and then $8,200 Terry Rozier for 39.88, at least in our projection. So yeah, points per dollar, Garland is better, but it's not like he's wildly better. He's about a little bit underpriced, and then Rozier maybe a little bit overpriced, but nothing crazy. So I see what you're saying in terms of the gap in what their ownership is. Now, anybody that you're looking to take a potential shot on large field tournaments as far as the Hornets go?
Sticking with the trend of naming everybody's backup center. In this case, it's Kai Jones. He does have power forward eligibility. He's 3,500. Don't think he's any sort of like, if you don't get to him, you should feel badly or force him in or anything. But if you're just trying to find some random low-owned dude that has a path to success, I would say the first one from the Hornets is Kai Jones. I wouldn't play him with Nick Richards.
Yeah, we've got Kai Jones has had some decent games as of late. There was the game against the 76ers. It was a blowout, and Richards got in foul trouble 2 games ago. We ended up getting 27 minutes and 26 fantasy points out of Kai Jones in that spot. So that's like a potential ceiling that you'd be looking at. Now let's move on to the New Orleans Hornets on the other side of the game. In New Orleans, no Zion Williamson, no real firm return date on him either. Unclear if he's going to be returning at all in this regular season, but Jonas Valanciunas is a center that I got some exposure to and is my favorite overall player on the team if we're just talking about upside. And then some other guys I'd mentioned before, like Larry Nance, Najee Marshall. Those are some cheaper players that I just took shots on in my build, hoping for, hey, potential foul trouble, or just any of these guys, Larry Nance in particular. If he ends up playing some extended minutes in some way, he would have some upside. But first, I want to ask you about Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum as pay-up options. I didn't really get to a ton of either of them. Now, they aren't projected for a lot of ownership. I came in slightly underweight to each of them in the initial run I did. I was a few percentage points underneath to CJ McCollum, a few percentage points underneath to Brandon Ingram. I find Ingram's salary fairly difficult to get to at $9K on DK.
Yeah, I'm having trouble too. It's just that there's so many guys that are very good plays that are just less expensive than them. So, it's not that I have any problem with Ingram or McCollum. You expect them to play a lot of minutes. They're in good spots. It's just that they are like very clearly correctly priced on a slate where most guys are underpriced.
Yeah, and about NBA fan 237, Greg in 2009 talking about the New Orleans Hornets. It is fairly confusing when we've got the Hornets and also the Pelicans playing against each other. I look at it and just, I don't know what I said. It would not surprise me if I messed up the names when I said it there. But Jonas Valanciunas, I love the upside of him as a center option. And what the hell happened with his minutes last game? Because this was a game where they were destroying the Spurs and Valanciunas played garbage time for some reason. So we've now seen the last few games, 34, 33, and 28 minutes from Valanciunas. Could we just feel good about him playing like 28 to 34 minutes? Because that makes him a really, really strong tournament option.
He kind of played garbage time. Like he just played his normal rotation. Like him and CJ McCollum started the fourth quarter together, and then they just didn't play at the end of the game. They started the second quarter together as well. So like I don't he didn't really play garbage time. He just played his normal second rotation there. But that is 3 games in a row that he's played big minutes. We do know that Larry Nance is banged up. This was a big topic in chat this morning and the other day. I think that Larry Nance dealing with an injury is relatively likely to have something to do with why we've been seeing more minutes from Jovel. It doesn't make me that comfortable because Larry Nance isn't going to give us a press conference and say like, hey guys, I feel great today. You're kind of just going to find out when it happens. So there is still risk on Jovel, but we have been seeing more minutes from him. He has been playing well. We know he's a good point per minute guy. I still like him at 7,100. Larry Nance at 3,600. I don't have any problems with either. The first half rotation last game where, the game was relatively competitive, you got 24 combined minutes from Nance and Jovel. You got about 11 from Nance. You got 13 from Jovel. That's kind of similar to what the rotations have looked like for a lot of the year when they're both in. I don't know. Larry Nance closed the first half. Don't know if he was going to close the game or not, but you got really similar rotations to what we had previously. So the big thing is there was no Jackson Hayes outside of garbage time. There was no Hernan Gomez outside of garbage time. If you are going to get 48 minutes from Valanciunas and Nance combined in competitive games, one of them almost has to end up being a good play because either Jovel is playing like 28 to 30 minutes and almost definitely being a good play, or he's not and he's playing like 22, 24, which means Nance is playing the rest. And at 3,600, he's almost definitely a good play. So I wouldn't play them together, but I just think they both still look good here based on the rotations we've seen recently.
Yeah, I came in overweight to the field on the initial run I did on Nance just because how many cheap guys have a path to upside?
Right.
Like Larry Nance is one of the more reasonable ones. Plus, he's the power forward eligibility in addition to the center eligibility. So I'll be taking some shots on Larry Nance. If he feels better today, there's a chance he gets more minutes. Or if they just go back to playing the rotations they did before he was banged up, that's also a path to upside from him. Is there anybody else that you're willing to take shots on in tournaments from the Pelicans?
Right. I was going to say at 3,600, I don't even give a shit if he feels better. I just care if he's on the floor. Like if you just play the same rotation you did last game, except for there's no garbage time and Larry Nance gets those final minutes and ends up at 22 minutes, that's all I need. I don't really care how much pain he's in while he does it. But other than that, I mean, if you get to a little bit of Josh Richardson, that's fine. If you get to some Herb Jones or Trey Murphy, any of that stuff's fine. Najee Marshall, playing 18 to 20 minutes at a cheap price tag. I will say I just finished running and sorting lineups. If the slate started right now with current ownership projections and all of that, so, take it with a grain of salt. But if the slate started right now, I'd have 24% Jovel and 20% Nance.
Yeah, I had, for what it's worth, it was 26% Jovel and 18% Nance was the numbers that I had when I was running lineups before this. And once again, if anybody says like, how could you play Larry Nance? How could you play any of these crappy value players if that's the way you're looking at this slate? All of these guys have inherent risk. We don't have somebody who's $3,200 and starting is projected to play 30 minutes. It doesn't exist on tonight's 4-game slate. Nance is one of the players that I view as having some upside. Is there anything else you want to add about the Pelicans Hornets game?
No.
So let's move on to the final game of the slate, which is the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the LA Clippers, and no Paul George. We'll be talking about that in a little bit, but I also want to mention to you guys, if you have not signed up for a Stokastic Plus package, you can sign up using the link we have below and get 50% off any package you sign up for the first time. If you want to get access to our NBA tools, 50% off. Our lineup generator, 50% off. You get it for less than $5. If you want a platinum package to get all of the tools that we have for every single DFS sport out there, 50% off. You get our Boom Bust tool, player projections, NBA ownership projections, as well as everything. We have baseball upcoming as well. We've got MMA. That's going to be this weekend. Be like Josh Engelman. Win $80,000. We've got tools for every single DFS sport, projections for everything behind our Stokastic Plus Platinum package. Now let's move on to this final game. And starting with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I hate whenever we get the Thunder on a 4-game slate because it means we have to consider them. You just can't avoid them when it's only a 4-gamer. So I want to start by just talking about some of the cheap guys from OKC. Is there anybody cheap from the Thunder? Do you feel good about the minutes, and do you want to play in large field tournaments?
Feel good? No. So for now, excluding the 4 guys that I actually like from OKC, Isaiah Joe, I think, would be the 5th guy. He's shooting guard, small forward. He's 4,400. He closed last game over the bad Jalen Williams, or the not as good Jalen Williams. He's getting 10% ownership. I'm not confident in him, but there's at least a path to, him being decent. Similarly, Jalen Williams, assuming he's starting, he is really cheap. He's 3,500. If he happens to play well and you just get one of those games that he plays 24 minutes, he could be a good value. I have no confidence in that happening either. Those would be the 2 that I go to first. If the slate started right now, they'd be the only 2 of the rest of OKC that I'm getting to.
Yeah, and there's other players that we've found ways to highlight, like, oh, here's somebody in large field tournaments that could have upside. I just hate this Thunder team. And for some reason, I always feel like if there's a 3 or 4 game slate, the Thunder seem to be on it for some reason. And it's so hard to know what to make of their minutes because it's so inconsistent, not just from game to game, but from quarter to quarter and half to half. Like, what other teams are changing their starting lineups for the second half relative to the first half? It's so hard to project them. So the guys that I generally like getting to from this team, SGA, Lou Dort, but this is one of the teams I have the least amount of exposure to. I don't have more than 20% of anybody in the first run of lineups I did for the 4-game slate. If you're paying up for anybody on this team, and I guess, like SGA, Jalen Williams, Giddey, we'll tie them all together. Are any of these guys that you really do think stand out as options?
No. So the guy that I like the most, I'm actually not really getting to. I really like Josh Giddey at 7,700. I think he's a good play here. 1.2 DraftKings points per minute this season in the games he's played with Gilgeous-Alexander. He's giving you typically around 32 minutes, but you do occasionally get more. I think he's going a little bit under-owned here, but I'm also having trouble getting to him. So I guess, maybe that's why he's not getting much ownership. Lou Dort's the only guy from this team I'm actually getting a lot of. $5,400 small forward, only 15% ownership. Played 38 minutes last game. Typically he's giving you 30 to 32. But that's just a cheap price tag. There's not many alternatives there. You have Gordon Hayward pulling a ton, but Hayward's getting like half the Jordan's eyes just lit up. Hayward's getting like half or double the ownership of Dort. So I think, maybe turning some of that into Dort makes sense. I'm happy to get to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Jalen Williams, the wing, $6,700 price tag on Williams. He's playing huge minutes. He's playing better than he did earlier in the year. Overall this season, in the games he's played with Gilgeous-Alexander and Giddey, he's averaged around 0.85 DraftKings points per minute over the last couple of months, which is like 18 to 20 games. He's about a fantasy point per minute, and that's coincided with increased playing time. So he's fine, but I also think the price tag's correct.
Just a perfect player to combine his first and last name. There's very few where it comes out perfectly. That would be one of them. And that's really a Hall of Fame moment around here. If you guys want to be in the Hall of Fame, you're not going to be on shows and accidentally mix up players' first and last names. You guys could download the Stokastic avatar and come in to top of a field of a GPP and add us on Twitter at StokasticHOF. But if you're ever on a show and you accidentally call Gordon Gayward, that also might get you in the Stokastic Hall of Fame. a lot of different ways to get the gold jacket around here. And that'll be Adam's induction moment for the week. Is there anything else you want to add from OKC?
No.
So let's talk about the Clippers then. And no Paul George. Paul George, pretty nasty looking knee injury the other day. Hyperextended his knee, bent in a funny way. It looks like they're probably going to hold him out for the rest of the regular season and just hope that he's good to go for the playoffs. But yeah, this Clippers team just seems like they cannot avoid injuries once the end of the season comes down. We've seen it year and year again with them heading into the playoffs. Last year, they didn't have Kawhi. The year before that, Kawhi tore his ACL in the playoffs. But as for tonight with Paul George out, I do not understand how Kawhi's not picking up more ownership right now.
Yes and no. I think he's kind of difficult to get to just because of the relative lack of value. I'm getting right around the field at like 23%. And he's been a 1.35 DraftKings point per minute guy in 6 games this year without George. You obviously didn't have Westbrook for, I think, any of them, but it's going to be, Kawhi's offense, and he does look very good. He does have floor eligibility, which we know is valuable on this slate as well. So I think he's a really good play, and obviously, if you can get to a lot of them, great. He's just, I'm having trouble getting over the field given all of the other mid-range plays that I like that are a bit less expensive.
Now, here's the guy that I find the most difficult to figure out from the Clippers. What does the absence of Paul George mean for Russell Westbrook? Because I could see it meaning that they lean on him more to carry the offense. I could also see it meaning absolutely nothing for him, and he just plays the exact same role.
I think he plays more. So we haven't gotten a game with this new version of the Clippers where George has been out and Kawhi has been in. But we did get a game against Orlando 3 games ago, I think it was March 18th, where Kawhi sat and George played. So in that game, we got 37 minutes from Russell Westbrook. And we've seen games where both guys are in and Westbrook, plays pretty normal minutes. But then we've also seen games where he doesn't play the fourth quarter and he finishes at 24 minutes or 26. I think in competitive games, that risk is a lot lower with George out because as flawed as Westbrook is offensively, it's not like you have good offensive players behind him on this team. Your alternative is going to guys like Terrence Mann, Nick Batum. None of that's going to make you feel very good either. So I think it is a good thing for Westbrook's playing time. And then obviously you're also taking a very high usage guy in Paul George out of the lineup. So I think it makes Westbrook look quite a bit better. Yeah,
fair enough. It's, he's also somewhat popular. I'm just not sure what is, I could see there being more ceiling for his minutes. But there's also an opportunity where it's like, hey, we just play Russell Westbrook the exact same role that he had before Paul George, and Terrence Mann's generally been better this year. The team hasn't seen it that way. I do like Terrence Mann as a pivot off of Russell Westbrook in large field tournaments as well, because there's a scenario where Westbrook struggles because he's generally been shitty the entire season, and they need to get more floor spacing on the court. And they might lean on Terrence Mann a little bit more. So Mann is a large field tournament play at low ownership that I really do like getting to, especially given all the ownership on Westbrook. I see the leverage there. Is Terrence Mann somebody that you like getting to?
I can see it. My biggest issue with Mann is that he's up to 4,900. So right now I'm getting 5%. I played a ton of him in that Orlando game the other day. It was I think a 2 or 3 game slate. Yeah. I thought he was going to play more minutes than he did. He only played 18 minutes in that game. He certainly could play more. But I'm hesitant to get there. I'm, right around the field where he's at 6% owned.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, because I think I know where your thought process is at. The game before that, I think he closed over Russell Westbrook. If I remember the timelines right. So I was on the same page as you, where I thought the Clippers are finally going back to Terrence Mann. He was really cheap. He was close to min price for that slate. And then his minutes just went right back to where they were. And he actually only played 11 minutes last game. A little scary, but I do see the opportunity for him with Paul George out to maybe him get more offense, more floor spacing. Are there any value players that you do see really standing out in the absence of Paul George?
So I think the Nick Batum, Robert Covington piece is very interesting. Batum's 3,800 on DraftKings, power forward center, pulling 18% ownership. Covington's 3K flat, power forward center, pulling 5%. Batum's been ahead of Covington in the rotation. There's no doubt about that. But in the game against Orlando, Batum only played 17 minutes. Robert Covington played 22 and a half, and he actually essentially closed for the final couple of minutes. I don't think that's necessarily the most likely outcome, but I think there's just too big of a gap in projected minutes right now between Nick Batum and Robert Covington industry-wide. I think that Batum's the favorite to play the most minutes and should be more popular than Covington, but I think Covington could end up actually playing similar, 18, 20 minutes. And so I'm not convinced that, Nick Batum is 3 times better at $800 more than Covington. But I think that they're both reasonable value plays.
Is there anything else you want to add about the Clippers?
Gordon probably starts, plays around 30 minutes. Morris probably plays around 30 minutes. They're both pretty much correctly priced. If you can get to them, fine, but you wouldn't be tripping over myself to do so. And then you should get around 48 minutes from Zubats and Plumlee. They're both solid tournament plays, I think, at their prices. You're getting a lot of attention going to other centers. So you do have them both going a little bit under-owned here at 8% apiece. Wouldn't play them together, but I think they're going a little bit overlooked.
All right, that is going to do it for us today. If you have not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and stick around. We've got Eric coming up next on Live Before Lock with Rinpack. Rayen is going to be doing Live Before Lock with Eric, so check those guys out. Good luck tonight, everybody. Gordon Gayward.
Yo, what's good, everybody? We are back. We took a week off, but we are back with the Stokastic Hall of Fame, and we have some monster wins spread across this week. Very excited to get into it, to give away some free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum, and induct all of you fine people into the Hall of Fame. If you're trying to get in on this, get that free month, $120 value, get inducted, featured, bragged for right here in the Hall of Fame segment. All you got to do, download the Stokastic avatar, the profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins to Stokastic Hall of Fame or Stokastic HOF on Twitter. Get that free month and get inducted, just like everybody that we're going to talk about today. And we've got some huge ones, starting it off with Dylan Strickland. How about Dylan? Shipped to 50K on the first day of March Madness with a single entry, thanks to our boy Matt Gajeski. 50K up top in the 150K tourney tip-off for Dylan Strickland. Huge way to start it off today, but it only gets crazier because you have Bob Crematola, who just, when this guy goes on heaters, he goes on heaters. And he said it's officially on a heater. Got it, thanks to Stokastic and the great tools they provide. Also, many thanks to the boys for their great content on the Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock yesterday. 50K for Bob as well, or Bobby Nissan. And it looks like actually 7 entries, $5,900 in entry fees, $89,600. Another monster win for Bob. Keep it going, man. And how about our own Steve Buzzard? You think he's using these tools? I can tell you right now, he's using the Stokastic tools. Not quite Hall of Fame worthy, but anytime I can finish 5th in a Super Stack DraftKings live final, I'll take it. $200,000 to the Colts. Steve Buzzard, monster win, almost $250,000. Congrats, man. That's huge. Taking it home for Team Stokastic, or close to it. And how about our own Josh Engelman? Fun little Saturday, he says. UFC, it came down. He needed everything that he got. Came down to the wire. $80,000. Chopping first place with a couple people for $80K on Saturday afternoon. And you wonder if we have good NHL content. Well, how about Josh? How about Josh Harris? Is it Josh Day at Stokastic, apparently? Not $80K, but in the NHL streets, this is about equivalent. $5,800 for Josh as well. And then you got Noah Levinson. The Stokastic lineup generator, I told you guys, has itself another win. Thanks to Greg Ehrenberg, Eric Lindquist for the advice on all the shows at Stokastic Hall of Fame. $2,000 in the end one. Love it, man. And if you keep this one rolling, you got Joey Foley. I want to thank the Stokastic guys again, but it's been a while. All the guys and anyone I forgot. I made over $1,000 in profit last night. Here's a couple screenshots: 500, 175, 35, first, second, and 5th place. Good stuff, Joey. Keep it moving. And how about Lemons? Not a bad ROI on the jukebox last night. Not at all. 3rd place into $125. I told you guys, it could be the $20, it could be a 10 cents entry, quarter, $1. Doesn't matter. As long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you're getting in. You're getting the free month. You're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, just like Pat Damon to wrap this one up. Thanks to Live Before Lock, gents, for helping me place 3rd out of 33,000 in this Wednesday 8K fadeaway. 25 cents into $100. Crazy return. Appreciate all you guys rocking the avatar. Enjoy the months. Enjoy the bragging rights right here on the Hall of Fame. And remember, tweet those wins to Stokastic HOF. Get that free month, and we'll see you back here next week for another edition.
better be.
Is it popping?
I'm wearing Jordan Klein right now.
Oh, baby. What is... What? Wait, what? What? Fake out? What's happening?
through here.
You gotta be kidding me. Oh, now we're going? You're such a loser, Jordan Klein. Welcome, everybody, to NBA Live Before Lock, presented by So Rare. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell as we get going. Make up for the sins of Jordan Klein. What an absolute dipshit. What's wrong with you? Can you not do your job well one time? Every show this entire week I'm hosting, I'm normally an analyst now because that's, you fit in the roles that you need to be. Welcome, everybody, to NBA Live Before Lock, presented by So Rare. I'm Eric Lindquist. Hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. It goes a long way for me. It goes a long way for you. It's great stuff. I am so excited. And why am I so excited for this show today? Well, not because of Jordan Klein, producer behind the virtual glass. He's doing a great job as always, but because my buddy Rinpack, yes, Rayen Patnaik, my dude, the guy who brought me into Awesemo/Stokastic once upon a time, days of yore, back when we were all at home doing nothing and I needed a job. My friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing well and excited to be on a Live Before Lock. It's been, I think we did one in October or November, but I'm glad to be doing another show with you. A little throwback Thursday. It feels like we're doing a slate starter show.
It's a beautiful thing. For those who don't know, I think a lot of you do know. Larry C., he's not your dude. He is absolutely my dude, and I know it bothers him to no end when I call him my dude. He didn't tell me for 2 years, but that's fine. No big deal. I've known Rayen for, 8 years probably now? We originated talking NBA DFS once upon a time at this lovely place called FanVice. We ended up just becoming friends, cordial through that, and then he's just a lifer. He's one of those lifers that you get in your life one time, and I got him. So he's mine. He's a top 20 player in the world, has been for a while. You're just fantastic at DFS. So I'm excited to be back running the slate starter at NBA Live Before Lock time on this 4-gamer. So if you're excited, I understand because I know Rayen. Look how excited he is. He's got the same facial expression he has every day. I'm happy. Let's do
I'm pumped.
things.
I'm pumped. I'm definitely pumped. But no, I wanted to talk about this show. This slate it's like the slate so far for Live Before Lock. We don't have much news.
Hasn't started. Like the slate hasn't started. This is like the anti-slate starter. Or I guess it is the slate starter because we really need to know Jalen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson because I don't know. Everything is dictated by what happens with those two. Do you think, if you just had to guess, we're going to get that news, but do you think they both play or do they both sit?
Well, the good thing about this is we'll find out before lock happens. If it wasn't Thibodeau, I would say they sit, but since it's Tom Thibodeau and his evil brain, there's a really good chance they play. So, I mean, Jalen Brunson, the one thing with Jalen Brunson, it's not a leg injury, it's a hand injury that happened last night, according to Adam. Yep. And additionally, one thing that I'm concerned with Jalen Brunson, he hasn't played this many minutes in an NBA regular season ever, right? Yep. He was always kind of playing the backup role and sometimes closing with Dallas and Luka. It's been a while since Jalen Brunson has to put this load on. So there could be just foreshadowing their playoff hopes and maybe building in some sort of load management. Yes, he's young, but I'm just trying to make up narratives and to see why Jalen Brunson might play.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tom Thibodeau has no regard for human life. That's a fact. There's no doubt about it. He doesn't care. It doesn't matter what your name is. If you're a starter on his basketball team, you are getting ran into the ground. Like, that's just the end of the story. I think NBA players probably like that. Looks good on a contract number at the end of the year, knowing you hit X amount of points. I mean, analytics now go further than anything, but I will say something that you want to be paying close attention to here because it dictates everything that I'm going to be doing today, and I bet you too. In the event that both sit, who become your main targets on the Knicks that we want to get to?
So obviously, Emmanuel quickly. At one point, I believe a couple weeks ago, after he just went on that 45-point explosion in the Garden in Boston, he was like favored to win Sixth Man of the Year. I think Emmanuel quickly becomes an awesome play. Thibodeau won't be shy to play him around 40 minutes if this game is close. I think he becomes a solid guard play across the board on any site, just because of the minutes we're going to get with him and the usage once he's there. And then if Mitchell Robinson's out, there's obviously a chance Jericho Sims gets to start here. That's kind of what happened when Mitchell Robinson first got hurt. but we haven't seen or heard of Jericho Sims in a minute since he got hurt in that dunk contest, I feel like. So I think keep an eye if Hartenstein starts. We know Hartenstein can put up a great fantasy point per minute guy earlier in his stops in the NBA career. Not so much with the Knicks this season. It's been a tough role for these Knicks centers to get really active in the game plan Thibodeau runs, but he'll play as many minutes as he can if he starts. So those two guys definitely stick out, and they'll be by far the best plays and probably the most owned plays on the slate.
Yeah, but it's a 4-gamer, and I would even have interest. And I think this is where it's different than like your traditional 8-gamer, where you wouldn't have to go beyond those 5. I would actually have interest in like Quentin Grimes quite a bit at 4,200. I would maybe look at Miles McBride even at 4,100. We've seen him in recent games get extra runs, 17 and 25 minutes, and put up pretty serviceable fantasy numbers there. And then the last guy, I can't believe I would say this, but Obi Toppin even at 3,800 on FanDuel. I'm talking FanDuel pricing for what it's worth, by the way, because I've been playing there all week to try to cover that. I'm sure Rayen will be playing 48 different sites and have everything covered for you for DK as well. But like, I'm willing to go really deep in the bench here. I think that there's some extra value just because of the short slate nature of it. And what's the best value that we currently have on the slate? It's basically mid-level plays like your Russell Westbrooks, I guess Brandon Ingram's a little bit more expensive. Josh Giddey, mid-level play. We're talking like mid-range guys. We don't have any cheapies that I think really jump to the forefront. You can make a case for Nick Richards, but I would become very interested in trying to take shots on those ancillary pieces.
So yeah, I think on both sides today, it's a weird slate, right? There's on the center end, our most expensive center today is, I believe, on DraftKings, it's going to be Evan Mobley and Valanciunas. And on FanDuel, a similar story there. The opportunity cost today lies in the guard position. You have some solid spend-up, pay-up guards in SGA, Donovan Mitchell. You can definitely take some chances on McCollum and obviously Westbrook and Dinwiddie then next year. And I mentioned Rozier. I feel a lot safer spending up in the guard spot than spending down today, barring the Emmanuel Quickley news. So I'm just looking at where I don't think I can get failure as much. And I think if I want to spend down, it's already going to be a balanced build approach. There's no one that's north of $9,900 on DraftKings. The most expensive player out today on FanDuel is a 10.6 SGA. So it's kind of easy to just go balanced. And right now, in terms of value, like you said, it's tough to say anyone before this Knicks news, but no one really sticks out to me. I could argue that Kawhi Leonard's the best value play on FanDuel. And I think that makes a lot of sense, even point per dollar wise. Over there in DraftKings, in the center spots, there's some solid like mid-tier center options. And I don't mind sprinkling in Mitchell Robinson if he plays, but that's a big if he plays. And then taking some chances on OKC. Keep an eye on Olivier Sarr. Darius Saric was out of the rotation last game.
Jalen Brunson ruled out.
All right, so it's the
Mitchell Robinson available to play. Just wanted to cut you off because we got the news we were looking for. We have plenty of time to react to it. 46 minutes, but Jalen Brunson out. I think that was kind of a foregone conclusion. I am surprised Mitchell Robinson's playing. Do not play Obi Toppin. I'm going to throw that out there now. That was never something I wanted to do, but I was going to try to make it happen just where it's on a back-to-back. Maybe you saw some extended minutes there, but initial reaction, we just play Emmanuel quickly, right?
Yeah, quickly comes in at 5,700 on FanDuel, a solid price tag. A little bit more expensive, I believe, on DraftKings. Let me make sure it is.
Yeah, I cut you off. For those who don't know, I've cut off Rayen enough times. He always gets on these rolls. He's saying mad genius shit, and then I ruin it. So welcome to the party.
No, this is good. It's been a while since we've done a show, so we're just turning back the clock here. Yeah, quickly 5,800 on DraftKings, 57 on FanDuel. Outstanding value play right now. I mean, I know our data and tools team is going to quickly update that, but just run with what they put out. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. He's going to play a lot of minutes. I think mid-30s around there seems like the median to go, and I think he's going to project around at least 33 fantasy points or so before we get that final update. At those price tags, he looks like an awesome play to start your lineups with. Definitely kind of the first guy you want to go in your cash game lineups. I think he's fine. I know people were hesitant before. His usage is a bit lower, sharing the court with guys like RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. But I just think I think the wins matter. Seeding matters right now. So I think it makes a lot of sense to play Emmanuel quickly.
Yeah, it's just kind of a no-brainer. I think just 5,700 on FanDuel. I mean, this is like near borderline lock play, right? 5,700, you just kind of throw him in and figure out the rest of your lineup on FanDuel.
So let's see who falls around him in that price tag, and if there's any viable pivots. That is there anyone in that price tag that you think it's like he's cheaper than Dennis Smith Jr., who's getting some ownership. He's $100 more than Terrence Mann. I mean, he just looks like an awesome play. There's no real reason to get cute, right?
Yeah, I think I'm just locking him on FanDuel today. I think that's going to be my course of action, playing 40 lineups. That's kind of, I've been playing 50, 100 lineups depending on the day here, the last couple. I think today, just on a shorter slate, fewer lineups. I feel pretty good about just locking in quickly and trying to figure it out the rest there. Does this change anything for Josh Hart for you too? I feel like, I mean, he's not going to start. Obviously, we're going to just get a 1-for-1 swap in with quickly like we've seen in the past here, but Josh Hart has had some more fantasy viable games there. I mean, you look the last 2 games here, Brunson, the minutes have gone down slightly, as is the fantasy production. Right before that, he was just out there beasting 37 minutes, 32 minutes, 40, 45 and change. I mean, Josh Hart feels like a pretty good play too, no?
Yeah, he's all right. He's so reliant on those rebounds, I feel like. And now I know he's had some good high usage games sprinkled in, but like Josh Hart, you feel good that he's going to get you anywhere between, I don't know, 24 and 29 fantasy points. I know he's had some good games a couple weeks ago, but the usage is never high enough for me to go there in confidence. And usage is the quickest way to fantasy points. And I know that ownership's going to be pretty appealing to take some chances on it. I'm less inclined to do so. I think I'd rather take a chance on RJ Barrett, finding the extra $100 on DraftKings, and go to Barrett instead of Josh Hart.
Let's go to the top end now too and talk some of the studs here, because now Julius Randle, I mean, this entire run, there were a couple slates there, specifically going up against the Lakers and a couple of other spots where it was just kind of a no-brainer to play a ton of Julius Randle, but we do have other studs we do want to pay up for on this slate that exists. Kawhi Leonard with no Paul George seems like it stands out pretty significantly as well. SGA coming off of another he's just so good. It's incredible. Brandon Ingram up there. Those are your 4 9K players over on DraftKings. On FanDuel, it's pretty similar, but you do have SGA more expensive than Randle, Leonard, Donovan Mitchell, 9,700. How does Julius Randle stack up amongst the studs for you now?
He's on the table. Obviously, he's on the table to be the highest scoring player on the slate, just the nature of the lack of studs here. And I do think there will be some extra usage sprinkled his way with the lack of Brunson. So, I mean, I definitely like going to Julius Randle. I know when there's not like appealing value to jam in both Randle and Leonard. It's going to make yourself a little uncomfortable to play both of those guys in a lineup. But if you're comfortable with taking some chances on some really like scrubs, I think you can make it happen. But you got to like Julius Randle quite a bit. I think I have to check our latest projected update. I think it's going to be at least in the high 40s projection, and that's pretty appealing at $9,100. So I like going to Randle just because I want to see if you play this slate 100 times. How often is he the highest scoring player? I want to say maybe 6, 7, 8% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely up there. It might even be a little bit higher there. I don't know. He seems as though he's going to be the stud that I get to the most, even on FanDuel at 10-3.
Yeah, I think he makes for a very appealing option. Like, I think Kawhi is going to get a lot of ownership, but there's a good chance Randle can just simply outscore Kawhi Leonard. And not to say Lou Dort really put the clamps on Kawhi last game, but kind of did. I know the last possession was the highlight, but throughout the game, Kawhi could never get going. Granted, some of it was the refs issue, but I think Kawhi definitely had his hands full with Lou Dort on the other side.
Lou Dort's kind of a psycho. I love it. Him in the Arizona State, the Harden bubble, the back and forth there was a lot of fun. If people remember those, Ryan and I were covering those slates together. No big deal. We have Ryan Nelson, $2 slate starter, lives on forever. Thank you, Ryan Nelson, my dude, as opposed to Ryan, who's my buddy. That's better for him. He likes that more.
Ryan Nelson, good to hear from you. It's been a minute.
Sam Van Dam, $2 Rinpack equals Phil Ivey. Shout out the poker streets. I mean, you're just living goating life. Just the goat. Look at your background. It's pretty goaty.
Yeah, no, I can't complain. I can't complain about that.
Yeah, it was we had a good little time in Chicago last summer. Got to hang out with you, my buddy Mo. You guys aren't in the same building, are you? No, I don't think you
No,
are.
no, I changed buildings since then.
Okay, gotcha. I was gonna say, I know you guys were pretty close. That was convenient. It was useful when you don't have a car and you're walking around in a city you don't know anything about. It was a lot of fun. But we continue on. We covered the studs. We covered New York. Let's get to the entire overarching view of the slate here, my friend. Let's go to guard. And I think, obviously, Emmanuel quickly, I'm going to be locking him in. He's now in 100% of my FanDuel lineups, 5,700, 5,800 on DK. I bet he's still going to show up a ton for you over there. But what other guards do you find yourself getting to the most?
Yeah, I think on the guard spot over there on DraftKings, obviously quickly is going to stick out like quite a bit. Like I think making a stand and playing 100%, I have no issues doing so. Yeah, I'm going to get a lot of him as well. I like taking some chances on a Darius Garland at that price tag. I think Mitchell's at 8,400 has a serious upside. And the guy that's the biggest question mark and mystery on the slate is probably Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
What those minutes look like can be anywhere from mid-20s to high 30s. And we got to be willing to embrace those range of possibilities on this slate. Because if Russ is going to play high 40s and if Kawhi's going to have his hands full with Lou Dort, Russ can have that triple-double upside. We know he can get that done in mid-20s, high 20s minutes of play. So I think Russ is going to have to get some extra usage when Paul George is off. So I think he makes for a very appealing play. And I'm willing to take that chance just because of that upside. I also know his floor. His floor is him getting benched for the likes of Terrence Mann as well. So that's definitely going to be on the table.
So I've been thinking a lot about Terrence Mann today because I do think he is the Clippers' best option at point guard, and yet they don't believe that to be the case. It's a little bit surprising to me. Knowing your knowledge of basketball, I have a feeling that you feel that same opinion and share that same opinion. I don't want to speak for you, so I will let you speak, but he's 5,600. Terrence Mann is on this slate for FanDuel. Over on DK, I think there's more of a case for trying to make that work for Terrence Mann at 4,900 with point guard, shooting guard. He doesn't project out well, but it's a player that I feel like if, as you said, the minutes are so volatile there, I think he could be the person who just walks into a larger role in the second unit, doesn't have to necessarily start, but also could end up being the one who starts instead of an Eric Gordon. I don't think that's as likely, but even in second unit usage, I gotta like Terrence Mann a little bit. I just hate the price point. I wish he were sub 4K so I'd felt better about those shots. Are you getting to any Terrence Mann today?
So I think Terrence Mann's an awesome tournament play for sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing a decent amount of Terrence Mann tonight. I think those minutes definitely go up. Keep in mind, last game, he got ejected in one of the most wildest ejections of the season. So for those of you looking at box scores, Terrence Mann would have played a lot more minutes, and that messed up the rotation for sure. Yeah, I think Terrence Mann's minutes, I think at the minimum, I expect him to play mid-20s, and on the high end, he could crack 30, a slim chance. I think Eric Gordon seems like anywhere from high 20s to low 30s. So I think Terrence Mann's minutes look like anywhere from the mid-20s to high 20s. He could play 30 minutes if Russell Westbrook is playing 4. And I have no issues if you fall on both of them. It's a small enough slate where they both can just pay off in their minutes. So no reason to make a rule, in my opinion, there.
Okay. He just feels like a player that's underrepresented because I think there is like that 30-minute type upside. And again, second unit usage can be very useful. Anytime Kawhi's off the floor, I expect Russ or Terrence Mann to be on the floor. That creates a great situation where I think he could end up being very, very undervalued on this slate. So I wanted to throw him out there. Dennis Smith Jr. is another guy I feel like we should have a conversation about. He's pulling quite a bit of ownership for a 6K Dennis Smith Jr. over on FanDuel at 24.4%. Over on DraftKings, though, I mean, Dennis Smith Jr. coming in at 5,100, about appropriately owned. I don't know. I feel like I should have some kind of a stand on this one. I think on FanDuel, it's a lot easier for me to come under that number. But on DK, what are you planning to do with him?
Very, very little bit. It's going to be tough to get to him regardless with the Emmanuel Quickly news. Yeah. I think I barely will get that much Dennis Smith Jr. And I think I'll sprinkle some of him in, maybe around 5%, if that. So I don't think I'm going to get too much Dennis Smith Jr. I just don't think it's all that necessary.
Okay. Just wanted to ask about that too. Cool. Any other guards that you feel like are coming in over-owned right now in our projections, and anything that you find to be fascinating, players that you find to be over-owned. I think Spencer Dinwiddie's probably underrepresented a little bit, but anybody that you see being overrepresented?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to make that conclusion just with the man quickly just grading out such a great play. I mean, maybe Markelle Fultz comes in a little bit over-owned at that around that price tag. I think he just falls in an island. Like, is Markelle Fultz going to get you 50? I know we've seen some high efficient shooting games.
He's been so good to watch, though.
Yeah.
Oh.
And this is what Markelle Fultz was supposed to be, right? It's crazy to think about that. Ben Simmons is about to be out of the league and Markelle Fultz is balling. So it's crazy how like life could change that quickly.
Yeah, life comes at you fast. Pretty wild situation there. I'm just finishing up everything on my end. Cleveland, I like Darius Garland a little bit. Ricky Rubio feels like you just shouldn't be trying to make that happen, but it's a 4-game slate. I'm trying to look through and find like what that 1 or 2 differentiating pieces can be now that I'm locking in quickly and thinking about who I could possibly get to. Rozier seems about appropriately owned. There's nothing that like on FanDuel really jumps to the top. On DraftKings, guard is just a gold mine for the most part. It's hard to get away from some of the chalk there.
Agreed. And I think in NBA, obviously, we talk about how chalk is usually pretty good more times than not. Mm-hmm. And I think where this slate becomes really interesting is the sub $4,000 players on this slate, right? We haven't touched on anyone sub 4K.
Yeah.
And to like jam in a stars and scrub slate on this is going to put you kind of like in a very unique roster build. And it instantly is going to give you that upside. And there's just not that many sub 4K players right now. And I think if you want to take some chances on the highest sub 4K player right now I have, as gross as it sounds on FanDuel, is Olivier Sarr, just because he started the second half last game. But I can't advocate going there. 3,200 over there on DraftKings. If he's going to start, I'll feel good about it. If he's not, he might not even play. So I know I mentioned earlier Dario Saric wasn't in the rotation. So, I mean, those are the type of players who I'm willing to take some chances on to get in like a Kawhi and Julius Randle in the same lineup type of build. Because you're just not going to get that many lineups like that, I don't think.
It's Olivier Sarr, not Olivier Sarr.
Yeah, well, Olivier Sarr is French, right?
I don't know. I just felt like quoting Hermione Granger for fun. That was for Jordan Klein. He didn't even care. Didn't even look up.
Jordan Klein is a big Harry Potter fan. Did you know that?
I know. That's why it was literally for him.
Yeah, he said he dressed up as Harry Potter like 6 or 7 times in elementary school.
Shout out the chat filter because Tapello Joe, he's bitter. Whatever. Give us the best plays. Most of us don't play 150. We're giving you the best plays. We're telling you the guys to get to the most. Emmanuel quickly at guard. Play him. I like SGA as a contrarian spend-up option. That's for sure. I'm invested in the prop department. That's for damn sure. We just got all our projections updated. But yeah, Dennis Smith Jr. pulling the second most ownership at guard. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah, that is tough to go to in any sort of confidence. I mean, am I missing something there?
Nope, I'm taking him out of the pool on FanDuel. At 6K, I'm just going to take him out. That's aggressive. Probably wouldn't do it if I was, doing all of my normal stuff today, but I'm just going to take him out. I don't want to play a 27% owned Dennis Smith Jr. today.
See, let's talk about the ways he gets there. Obviously, Terry Rozier can pick up foul trouble. Dennis Smith Jr. can potentially play an extra 5 or 6 minutes that way. Or he just has an outlier efficient usage game. That's the 2 ways I can see him getting there. But that's like, those are very extreme circumstances. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep, I agree. And that's why I said I think he's a terrible, awful, no good, very bad play at his ownership.
Yeah, at that ownership, it's tough to justify him.
Yeah. I think on both sites, especially FanDuel, again, 27% here. There's only a tiny bit of negative leverage, but I think I'm with you where I think there are more ways for him to fail than what is currently being expressed. So I'm much more interested in getting away from that, maybe trying to pay up. I'm going to have a lot of Russell Westbrook. I think he's just a better play, and I'd rather inherit that negative leverage than the negative leverage we have going with one Dennis Smith Jr. Anything else at guard you want to cover?
I think Potentially a guy like CJ McCollum might be coming in under-owned. Look, this Pelicans team is fighting for their lives. It's important at this point to keep in mind teams who are fighting for playoff positioning and potentially even to enter the playoff game. People were talking about how the Pelicans were like finals contenders before the Zion injury, and they've been absolutely awful since then. And look, I know they just need to win games, and this is a great game environment for all things New Orleans. So I think CJ McCollum certainly has an upside in this matchup.
I'm with you. Just like I think you're with me when I say So Rare is really, really cool. They are the presenting sponsor of NBA Live Before Lock. We're at the halfway point of our show. Hit that like button for our friends at So Rare. Again, this is a really fun NFT style based gameplay where you're going to be getting cards, and you can sign up and get your free starter pack right now. You sign up for that in the video description box below over at So Rare. But you can also upgrade to some really cool cards. We're going to be going through some amazing type gameplays that they have going, and I just saw the MLB product. I'm very, very excited for that. But you can get a free daily card. You can upgrade to limited cards. You can upgrade to unique cards. And I mean, some of these things are going for a ton of dough. So as you win these contests, you're getting access to some cards that are worth some dollar signs. I'm just saying, or some ether signs, if I should say so myself. Again, we are putting together each play for a couple of days. It's not necessarily one and done. You only have like these 2 or 3 day windows to be able to fire it up. But at the end of it, you can win limited edition cards. And that is what's really, really fun about it. If you collected cards as a kid like myself, there's a lot of nostalgia, enjoyment when it comes to watching the little spinning thing as it comes towards you and you see what card you have. It's like the slow reveal of the card as you had it once upon a time. It's really, really fun. And the gameplay, again, it all is a summary of the last 10 gameplays. So you're not necessarily, if it's new circumstances, you can take advantage of that as a sharp DFS players in things like the limited tip-off, which, again, 1K cards going out to people there. You can get elite cards as you go along with it. I have players like Jason Tatum, Kawhi Leonard, De'Aaron Fox in my collection. As we're looking at Jordan Klein over there, he's got, I see some beautiful things that he's got in his collection that I know, I'm just saying, I know. I'm very aware, but I'm looking at all of the different things, the limited champion you can jump in, get access to some of these cards. Cause again, it's all about upgrading those cards and finding ways to the top because there's some serious dough waiting to be had. So use promo code Stokastic when you sign up over there. Get advantage of everything that they have to offer at Stokastic. This week's gameplay starts tomorrow. So I repeat, don't wait till then. Sign up now. Get your free starter pack. You can choose the specific pack that you want to get. They have different options for you for what that stud will be. You can then get the daily drop card, start accumulating a collection, get those rewards, see if this is something for you. Because again, I love trading cards. I love all formats with it. And if you do too, you're going to love So Rare, the NFT combination of it. Jump in, register for those contests. Runs March 24th to the 26th. I'm going to be jumping in the limited tip-off. We'll be talking through that contest in the extra half hour as we're breaking things down, getting you ready for the tip-off of that Knicks game that is oh so important at 7 p.m. Eastern time. But thank you to So Rare. We love being partnered with them, and we definitely want you to try out their product because it's really, really great. All righty, my friend, we head to forward. We'll talk through a couple of these guys. I just updated more stuff on my end. Kawhi Leonard, Julius Randle, I think on FanDuel, I'm going to be spending up a lot for them. PJ Washington pulling the most ownership, though, on FanDuel over at that spot. I'm a little below there. Isaiah Hartenstein is now really ramped up. We'll see. We haven't gotten that starting lineup to my knowledge yet here, and I'll get to all these super chats in a second, too. But who are the forwards you're getting to the most on DraftKings tonight?
The forwards over there on DK, it's a bit of a different story, I'd say. I think, obviously, spending up for Kawhi and Julius Randle makes a lot of sense. Obviously, those are like your studs on the slate on the forward spot. But then there's a whole bunch of meh in between, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at spending down guys like the sub 4K values here are Dorian Finney-Smith, Larry Nance Jr., Nick Batum are the sub 4K players. And then the mid tier, you have your RJ Barrett and Gordon Hayward. I'm getting to some a decent amount of both of those guys just because of the balanced build that's just going to spit out. And I'm not getting any like a significantly above the field on one of those guys. I think I'm getting a little bit above the field on a guy like RJ Barrett just because of the potential extra usage that could come his way. I believe we just got the Knicks starting lineup It's the same thing with Quickly, just instead of Brunson. So that's on the table there. But forward, spending up for Kawhi and Julius Randle makes a lot of sense. But then finding your leverage spots in between in the low to mid tier is where it's going to go. The guy who I'm very interested in seeing what ends up happening tonight with his ownership is a guy like Eric Gordon. I know Eric Gordon is not the most exciting player for all those years, for the last couple of years in Houston, but I think he's going to find a way to around 30 minutes. And someone's going to have to take shots outside of Kawhi Leonard. Is it going to be Ross? Is it going to be Eric Gordon? We'll see. But I don't know how much I'll get to him by the time slate starts, just because I think they're better plays than him.
Yeah, we saw him play 28 minutes the last two. He was knocking down shots in Portland. He was not knocking down shots in that game I watched against OKC. It was a really low-scoring back-and-forth affair. I didn't really like him then. I like him a little bit more this time around just because you have no Paul George, but now the price is up to $5,800 on FanDuel, shooting guard only, a little bit more of I don't want to call him a luxury option. He's more of like if he's your last guy in, whatever, I'm okay with that. That's no issue at all. I think what's hard is that we have to try to make a case for some of these guys. We can't just play our favorite plays. I can't just play Julius Randle and Kawhi ad nauseum and not mix in some Dorian Finney-Smith, some Trey Murphy, some of these cheaper pieces. Trey Murphy's pulling the most at small forward right now over on FanDuel here. Nicholas Batum, I think there's maybe even a case where he could end up coming off the bench and playing some extra minutes. He played 24 there. OKC, I don't know how much was Terrence Mann, how much was Paul George, probably a combination of the two. But I think just anybody for the Clippers with a pulse off the bench, you got to kind of be interested in, no?
Yeah, I think mixing and matching those guys. I know we haven't mentioned Marcus Morris's name. I know he's been awful this season.
Yeah. But
if he's going to find a way to play high 20s minutes, it could certainly happen with Marcus Morris at that price tag. It's an OKC spot. I'm not too concerned. So you got to be willing to take some chances on one of those third-tier Clippers that's after Russ and Kawhi. I have a strong feeling one of their guys is going to be good, and I think Marcus Morris gets the start. He played 30 minutes last game, got up 10 shots. So there's definitely a pathway for him to really getting the job done.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's talk. Well, we've got a couple of super chats. I think this is a good time for me. 22 minutes left to go. Josh G, $5. Okay to play Man/Westbrook together in small field single entry, especially today. No problem whatsoever. What do you think, Ryan?
Man plus Westbrook in single entry.
Yep.
I think that's completely fine. So you're really hoping they find a way to share minutes on the floor together. I certainly think that can happen without Paul George. And yeah, I think if Russ is going to play mid-30s minutes, I really hope Man finds a way to also play high 20s. I think Man can certainly get the job done in high 20s minutes at that price tag.
Justin Alperto, $2. McBride could play, or is Tibbs using 7-man rotation? Well, no, it's a back-to-back. I'm pretty sure you're still going to get minutes from Top, and you're still going to get minutes from McBride. You're still going to get minutes from ancillary pieces. I'd be very surprised if this was a 7-man rotation.
I would be surprised for sure. McBride, I think McBride can find a way to a dozen minutes, right? I think that's pretty reasonable.
If that's good. He's 3K on DK. There aren't many players who are flat 3K that are remotely playable. He's one of them.
Yeah, I think
he's one of the playable ones.
I was looking at his box score. He had a really good game against Portland there last week when they were on the road. So he has an upside within him if he finds a way to play high teens minutes. So, and if quickly is 2 fouls away in the first quarter from McBride finding a way to paying off a 3K price tag.
Yeah, I'm with you. Cool. More super chats. There we go. Don Icewood, $1.99. Best center play at any price on DK. You get the entire board, Mr. Ryan Patnaik. Who are you going with at center?
I like Jonas Valanciunas tonight. I think Valanciunas.
Talk through that one quick.
Just because I think it's a Charlotte spot. Charlotte's been a gold mine for us to target all season long. I think. I hope Willie Green is realizing that Valanciunas, when given the minutes, can be very productive on the offensive end. I know sometimes he might struggle on defensive switches. We'll see how much Steve Clifford wants to put Valanciunas on an island. But I think Valanciunas, if he even finds a way to 25, 26 minutes, he has 40 fantasy point upside, which I think on this center slate, you'll happily take.
Yeah, I'm with you. We have a question. Jake Lindland, $1.99. Line moves 2.5 points. SGA sitting, question mark?
So
I don't think so.
I mean,
They do play on a back-to-back. They have the LA back-to-back. They played in LA 2 days ago. Well, on Tuesday? And now they're playing today. And then they play the Lakers tomorrow. Do you think there's a chance he sits?
damn, 4 nights in LA. Holy shit.
It's not ideal. That's a lot of time that you can find yourselves on Sunset Boulevard and doing some things.
Yeah, just a little bit. And they're a young team, so they definitely are probably having lots of fun. That's probably a reason why. But Mark Dagnall made a statement last week saying there's a chance SGA is going to be playing on back-to-backs. So, I mean, all indications are I think he plays today. And look, they're in the play-in game right now, if I'm not mistaken.
They
I
are.
know the Lakers won yesterday, and the Lakers are a half game out of the 6th spot from what I think. But seeding and positioning right now matters for both of these teams. Just it's kind of crazy how jam-packed anywhere from like the 4 seed all the way to the 12 seed is right now. The West.
Yeah, it's jammed. There's an absolute log jam, that's for damn sure. Let's go to Josh G. Okay to play man. Oh, no, we already had that one. Justin Alberto. We talked through his. Let's see. Did I get everything? I got everything. Oh, nope. We had more super chats come in. Jordan Klein didn't send them yet. We have Charles Vidal Jr., $1.99. Any love for Day'Ron Sharpe? Do.
Yeah, I saw Day'Ron Sharpe put out like 40 fantasy points last game. I don't know what was up with that.
Blowout. He got all the blowout run. Just straight up murdered and blowout run.
I guess, yeah, because I did see like they were playing him and he was playing alongside with like Dinwiddie and like other like Royce O'Neal. So I figured it might have been blowout run. I think that's
so they left the floor and he stayed on it. And he just slammed humans. It was pretty wild to watch.
It seemed like that was the case there. So I don't think you need to go to Day'Ron Sharpe today. I think he might be a little bit overowned based on a recency bias and that huge explosion that happened last game. I think that's unlikely that happens again, but I don't think I would be going to Day'Ron Sharpe today.
It got out of hand. He brought it back. They went on a 16-point run, but yes, to throw it out there, it was blowout run. They ended up taking Claxton off the floor the rest of the way, DFS off the floor the rest of the way. DFS only played 18 minutes in that game. Legitimately, they were down. They went an 18-4 run to close the gap with Royce O'Neal. They brought Bridges back too. He played that entire fourth against Cleveland too, but they were down by infinity. They were down 106-84 at the 8:24 mark when he came in. So what happened? They were down 22 and they brought him on the floor and he just slam dunked humans. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's why the one game script that worked out in his favor. I don't think that happens today. I don't think it's all that necessary.
What do you mean it wasn't blowout run? They were down 22 and then he came in and played well and he got the opportunity to close.
I mean, did someone say that?
Yeah, so everybody's saying fluke rotation though. Yeah, it was blowout run. Came in to finish with the starters. He didn't come in to. They were going to take everybody else off the floor. He played really, really well. There's no doubt about it. That's what it was.
Yep.
Why not take the starters out then? Did you watch what the Nets did last week? They took all the starters out and then they came back against the Nuggets bench. Just trust me, Brooklyn is the craziest. If you do this for a job, Brooklyn will drive you bonkers, especially if you're trying to predict props. Because Mikal Bridges played 31 minutes and didn't close against the Nuggets last, Sunday? It was the most painful thing I've ever seen.
And they won the game, right?
No, they lost.
Oh, sorry, the Nuggets lost.
Yeah, they lost to the Nuggets. Because Mikal Bridges played 31 minutes and played 0 minutes in the fourth quarter.
Gotcha.
I hated everything. That was on the 19th. That was this Sunday, yes.
All right, so prayers up. Praying for Emmanuel quickly just has a good game, just because I'm also nearing that triple-digit number like you mentioned earlier. So hopefully this works out.
15 minutes to go. More super chats. Let's keep it going. Sam Lechner. Hopefully I got that right. Lechner. There we are. How many Knicks are you comfortable playing in a lineup for a 20 max? That's a great question because we get a lot of these. I think they're more applicable on a 4-game slate like this because I know from time to time, Rayen, he'll stack up an old game because there's 3 rules in life: death, taxes, and somebody has a game stacked in DFS. So, Rayen, how many Knicks are too many Knicks tonight?
The beauty about that is you could make an argument up until, I think, 4 Knicks today on this type of slate. I think 3 is the more logical number, but if you want to find a way to get in a 4th Knick, I won't prevent you from doing it. I think there's certainly a pathway against Orlando. 4 Knicks, find a way to get paying that off, but you got to look at the other like people around that price range, right? There's so many. Which three Knicks or which 4 Knicks are you going to be playing? Are they all like 10? Are they all like? Are they including Randall? Are they not including Randall? So it really depends on which Knicks you're playing. I'm assuming one of them is quickly, and then who are the other 2 or 3? Is it? I find it hard to see. Do quickly Barrett and Randall all get there today? It's certainly possible, but I think you can easily pivot Barrett into another maybe a Gordon Hayward is like if you want to only play 2 Knicks, or even pivot. It's tough to look at 3 Knicks and like be super confident, honestly, the way I'm looking at it right now. How do you feel?
You could do that. You could also make an argument that lineup construction where like if you get a 3K Miles McBride and that somehow works out for you, because you could be looking at anything just to have a roster construction where you could fit in SGA, Leonard, Randall, and if they all go for 60, you're going to want all of them. And does 15 from Miles McBride do enough for you? Then you could talk yourself into like 4, but I think the probably right answer is 3. Yeah, I think that's probably the right answer if you're making a bunch of lineups and you don't want to try to think too hard about it. 3 is probably the right answer, but I think just from a roster construction point, you could make an argument for 4.
Sure. Yeah, and also like what type of contest field you're playing in.
True.
I think there's so many underlying factors that come down to that decision. And no, it's not a situation where there have been times where I played 5 guys on a team and it's worked out nicely. I don't think tonight is that type.
Best plays at each position on DK from James Magruder, $1.99. Thanks, James. Thanks to everybody for the super chats. And then he says thank you because he's a nice, pleasant human being, just like everybody in YouTube chat. DK, by position, Rayen, who's your favorite point guard?
Emmanuel Quickley.
Favorite shooting guard? Emmanuel Quickley.
Yeah, I think Emmanuel Quickley.
Who would be your second for point guard, shooting guard behind them?
I really like Donovan Mitchell at $8,400.
Look at you getting all different and stuff.
Is it really that different?
No, I'm on DK.
You know what's crazy about Donovan Mitchell? You know he doesn't wear like his corrective contact lenses in the game.
What?
Yeah, so
it's called LASIK, bro. You are worth $1 bajillion. Go get it done.
Yeah, Eric actually knows some fancy LASIK doctors, fun fact, but
I do, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
But yeah, he wore corrective contact lenses in the preseason, and he was upset that he shot like 26%. And he doesn't wear like any corrective vision. It blows my mind. Like a player like him doesn't wear like corrective vision or any sort of like rec specs or some sort to like, but he's still an amazing player, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's
he also killed Yuta Watanabe. Did you see that dunk?
Yeah, there have been some ridiculous. The Shaden Sharp one in game. I mean, dude, this guy's out of control. Puts up 50 actual yesterday and posterizes everyone in his way. I mean, he is just an incredible specimen as an athlete.
Yeah, he's pretty insane.
It's wild. It's wild stuff. Anything else? I guess we had super chats. We talked forward. Should we jump over to center quick? Because did we
wrap up that super chat question? I know we did point guard, shooting guard.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, forward. Go to small forward.
Yeah, it's got to be Kawhi Leonard.
Power forward.
Julius Randle.
Center. You said J-Val before. Still J-Val?
Yeah, it's either J-Val or Julius Randle.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. J-Val or Jared Allen, sorry.
Jared Allen. Okay, got it. I like Jared Allen power forward eligibility over on FanDuel. Useful stuff. Don't know why I haven't been playing over there like all year long. Mainly because, more of a time thing than anything. But like for the last however many years, we would record every single night and I was playing both sites, but it was always like, there was never like any extra intensive work during the session. It would always just be like, hey, we'll record when the slate's over. Like just kind of go and fire it up. So it was a little bit different. Now Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks over on the Odd Shopper channel. If you guys want to go check that out, come hang out in the premium Discord. I'm firing my betting card in there every single day, firing up prize picks cards, everything you could possibly want in terms of betting. You can sign up for that in the video description box below and use promo code Lindy while you're at it for all of those lovely things. Goes a long way for me. So cool. Let's talk center here. You made the case. Jared Allen. Do you want to tell the people about Jared Allen a little bit? Because I confirmed good at defensive basketball.
Yeah, it's Jared Allen in a very weak center position today. So that's like the biggest reason to play him. And I think you'll happily take mid-30s fantasy points. He has an upside for 40 in a Brooklyn spot. So they just played him he's coming back from an injury. I think he's good to go. So I think it's just the nature of the slate and lack of center options why he sticks out to me.
A lot of people bringing up Nick Richards in the chat before. A lot of people bringing up Day'Ron Sharpe as well. But let me know, Nick Richards, yay or nay?
Nick Richards, he does look pretty solid in terms of a point per dollar perspective over there on DraftKings. I think he's fine to get to. I think I might be actually getting a little bit above the field right now. Keep in mind, he does have like a little bit of the Jaren Jackson Jr. syndrome where he can't keep his hands to himself. And that is always very concerning when you're going to get above the field on any sort of player. So let's just hope he puts his hands to himself. I know it's a beefy matchup against Joe Val. If he can just manage that, I think he'll be okay.
What do you make of the Clippers going small ball and Zubac's only playing 19 minutes last time?
It's tough. Tyler was a great.
He had foul trouble too early on. He had 4 fouls in that game. I think people are sleeping on him. That's why I'm getting at it.
Yeah, Tyler is one of those like really good coaches in just making adjustments. And it wouldn't shock me if Zubac finds a way to play high 20s minutes. I think that's certainly on the table. And like they could really feature him. He doesn't have to worry about center Jalen Williams or Olivier Sarr as like real threats, I don't think. Fortunately, as I say that, I don't have much Zubac right now, which is going to change as I would like to get a little bit more of him. He's a tough price tag. He's 6,100. Like I think I would probably save the 1,100 and go to Nick Richards. But how do you? I mean, it's a big ownership.
For me, it's just like if I'm going to find like a very contrarian play who goes for 45 that nobody's on, it might as well be a guy who I think the main reason. Let me just double check this because I was watching the game. I didn't look at the box score specifically for it yet. But looking at the game flow here for Zubac's last time out, he ended up having no fouls in his first rotation against OKC. And then he picked up 1 before the half. And then he picked up 2 fouls there in that run. Oh, yeah, no, he would have picked up 1. He had to have picked up 1 in that early window. Oh, nope, he picked up 3 right at the beginning of that third stint. And then he just never came back in the game at any point after that. Kind of a fluky spot, but they ended up going Covington at the beginning of the 4th. It got out of hand late there at the very end, and then they got it close. It was a pretty close game, actually, throughout the entire 4th as I'm going through it.
You know, by chance, his rebound rate since Russell Westbrook has entered the picture. Russell Westbrook is like the death note for rebound rates for centers, like ever since he was in OKC, like since Nick Collison was there. But do you know if that's affected Zubac by any chance? I have not looked that deep into.
I'm pulling it up right now as we go. We have 5 minutes left. Feels like a good use of our time talking through a specific play here. Let me double check any super chats. Joe K, $2. Bring back the slate starters. My dude, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
I think we're going to need a little bit more than $2 for that to come back. Let's be real.
It was fun though. So as we go, we remember. Okay, we're starting from, I'm just going to go February 1st for the hell of it. We had Zubac's 24.8% defensive rebounding rate, 18.6% total rebounding rate for the season. I'll extend it back, so remember that, 18.6. Oh, shoot. We're going to this. Boom. Wow, he's been so slow lately. It drives me nuts because I like to always have it equipped and ready to rock on shows, but it's really hard when you have the sidebars just taking 20 minutes. Like even now, it's just not even pulling up. It is sitting waiting. 100K super chat incoming. No. That would be fantastic. If you want to do that, go right ahead. We really appreciate
I think that would definitely move the needle.
That would move the needle. That would move the needle. So 18.6% was over the course of the last month and a half for Zubats, and 16.9%. So yeah, 1.5%, but nothing extreme. I mean, 1.5% over a 30-minute time frame. Yeah, 19.2% total rebounding percentage. No, hasn't really changed at all.
Okay, that's I mean, my assumption was proven wrong, so it's good to know.
Yeah, I mean, Zubats, it's more of like, I thought at some point it'd just be Mason Plumlee playing more minutes, but it seems as though Mason Plumlee is going to be just your 20-minute tops a game dude. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there'll be games where I think Mason Plumlee might get a matchup here or there. I think the Mason Plumlee, he was brought in specifically for Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic has feasted on Zubac every single time, it felt like. And Plumlee and Jokic have gone back and forth in all those days in Denver in practice. But I think that was the reason why they got Mason Plumlee. They also didn't have a real backup bigs.
Right. Kind of need one of those, right?
Yeah, especially when Jokic is in your conference.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I mean, Zoo also, I mean, that's the thing. Zoo is, he's had some battles. I feel like for whatever reason, I've been to a lot of Clippers and Nuggets games. It seems to be one that just for whatever reason always ends up on the calendar and we always end up at, and they go to war and it's really fun to watch. Kind of scary, actually.
They've known each other for a long time, probably too.
Yeah, I think they're pretty friendly because you'll see them, when they accidentally beat the living shit out of each other, they apologize and stuff. And you don't always see that when you go to games. If you have season tickets to anything, or if you go to a lot of games, you'd be shocked. There's no helping up other guys on the floor unless it's like a star player. Otherwise, you are strongly encouraged not to help a damn person up.
Yeah, it's they take it personally out there. You see that a lot in the NCAA tournament, which happens to be the Sweet 16 today.
Yeah, we got super chats coming in. Oh, late Slatey Lindy power PP card in Discord tonight. Yes, EMAC. I think we'll probably fire one of those up. We got the extra half hour. We'll have that here. Olrat 14, $2. Any love for Osman, who had a great game last time out? Nance, Morris Senior, Batum, and Moritz Wagner on DK. I know you're a Michigan guy, so you might be biased there, but who's your favorite of that last combination?
I might be the Larry Nance side. I think there's a pathway of Larry Nance playing mid-20s minutes in a Charlotte matchup. I could find a way of getting the job done.
Yeah, I think so too. We do have a college basketball game going right now. Michigan State, the rule of the NCAA tournament, everybody. Take Michigan State to go one more round than you ever would think humanly possible. And I think they already did that. Curious, though. I think this is a good matchup for them. I didn't bet it or anything, but
I hope they lose.
I know you do. You're an asshole. Like I said, you're a Michigan guy. Yeah. That's what I would expect.
A whole bunch of my high school went to that school. And
they did?
They just love Tom Izzo. For lack of a better term, they just get on their knees for Tom Izzo, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, thank you, EMAC. Member for 22 months. More like, member for 222 years, my dude. Like, my God.
Wow, 22 months.
Just saying. He's been around since... I remember. He's like, I remember when the ink was dry on that Declaration of Independence. I was there. I was there, just doing the thing. Boston Tea Party. He was helping out. Hey, gamers! You guys want to throw some coffee overboard? Little tea? You ready to go?
I wonder how he invented the term.
Got
Good
him.
luck, gamers.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of all the things. Melissa Harvey, $9.99. Bring back the Slate starter. We have a lot of bring back the Slate starter love. Thank you, Melissa Harvey. We appreciate you. Maybe what this is that this needs to become like the Thursday routine. We get a Slate starter live before lock on the books. And then, I got my guy, Jordan Klein, down there who I can annoy in any capacity whenever I'm hosting. He's just like, I cannot wait till tomorrow when Greg just starts yelling at you and making you shut up.
Ooh, I hope you got your lineups.
I did. Oh, did I? Yeah, I did. Okay. I just talked about the other day how I've never missed a set CSV like upload in 8 years. I've never missed one.
No way.
Never missed one, not one time. Because I'm so like, and again, there's times that I've uploaded something really, really early, like for PGA, and something changed and I got screwed. But for the most part, I was going through in my head. I've never like blanked on a 150 upload or a 50 lineup upload or something like that. Never once.
I wish I could say the same. That is my biggest flaw in my process. I have missed way too many CSV uploads in my life. Way too many.
Yeah. I saw Terry said it he's like, if you haven't missed a CSV upload, you haven't been trying hard enough. And I'm like, well, no, it's more of just like, I'm so like hyper personality when it comes to like my money. I'm putting it in play. I want to make sure everything's in, and I'll upload lineups plenty early just to have a set that's out there ready to rock. No joke. Yeah. Froze just before luck, and I had to drop the first game from everything at the last minute that very night. Yeah. I was going to say it was
sometimes it'll work out in your favor. Sometimes it'll work out in your favor.
Yeah. All righty. Well, we got so rare to talk about here in the extra half hour. We're going to go over a little bit of ownership. I do want to hear, because again, you're playing DK today. I'm playing FanDuel. I'm just playing the $9 on FanDuel today. I will pull up that 50K to first. Emmanuel Quickly in 100% of my lineups and almost in 100% of the field. Would you like to guess Emmanuel Quickly's ownership on FanDuel.com today at 5,700?
87.3%.
74.4%.
Yeah,
you did highball it. I appreciate that about it.
Because you like came in there almost with the field.
Yeah. 100. I was going to say, what are 26.6% of people doing? I don't know. Well, actually, they're going to probably watch.
You say all this, and Emmanuel Quickly is going to get hurt.
Yeah. Emmanuel Quickly to the locker room within the next 27 minutes. That'll be a fun conversation piece. That will not be a fun conversation piece. I'm not even. A little bit of that. SoRare.com. We're going to head over there right now, shall we?
Guess how much Emmanuel Quickly is owned in the fadeaway over there in DraftKings?
I'll go 78%.
He's 64%.
The DK edge. I mean, that's about correct when you take it by salary. Again, 3,500 for a floor. Yeah, it's pretty close. We got the identical net starting lineup you'd expect. James Magruder, $1.99. Top play at position for the 7 o'clock slate. Thank you. You're welcome. So I'm assuming 7 p.m. Pacific time? Is that what we're going for?
No, there's a turbo slate. Or night slate.
Well, 7 o'clock just locked. So that's a tough break, James.
He might be 7 o'clock Central time.
Oh, there we go. So Charlotte, New Orleans, OKC, and LAC. Top play in each position. So I'm not playing that slate, but let me pull it up. The after-hours slate.
I'm assuming he's talking FanDuel or DraftKings.
He didn't give you that one either. So I'll do it for FanDuel. You do it for DraftKings, and we'll just answer them both here. Top play for FanDuel on the after-hours slate. I'm going to go Russell Westbrook, point guard.
Yeah, I'll count. Oh, yeah, Russell Westbrook makes a lot of sense.
Shooting guard, I'm a little bit torn because, again, Giddey is pulling a lot of ownership. He's the highest owned there. I'm going to go a little bit contrarian here. I'm going to go Lou Dort.
Terrence Mann for me over there on DraftKings.
Okay, Kawhi Leonard on FanDuel, small forward.
Kawhi for me on DraftKings.
I mean, it would be Kawhi for me there on FanDuel as well. But for a two-gamer, I'll go Larry Nance. I echo that sentiment where I think there's a path to major upside there.
Kawhi also has power forward eligibility there on DK, but Larry Nance would be my second choice.
And center, Nick Richards and Jonas Valanciunas basically tied for me in projection, or in terms of like point per dollar.
Point per dollar. Yeah, pretty equal around for me. I have getting a little bit more Valanciunas than Richards right now, but on DraftKings, you can certainly get to both.
All right. Well, for all the lovely people who said all the nice things about the slate starter, smash that like button. We have 306 likes. Maybe we get over 400 and we have a chance to be able to run this back next week. That would be pretty great. I don't think anybody would argue against that. I sure wouldn't. Another day without Greg. That seems fun. Oh, we do? 438. Let's get over 500 then, damn it. Sorry, my sometimes my iPad doesn't update everything. Does it happen for other people? I don't know. Yeah, because I just refreshed it again. Now it's at 444. That's beautiful. I love you all. Thank you. Let's get over 500 for my dude Rayen. Pamper his skyline behind him. Look at that. We need some lights on that bitch. We need some nice things. We need some nice lights behind you.
No, there are lights. It's just sunny outside.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I have a lamp at the Holiday Inn Express. Don't mind me. It's good stuff. Jordan Klein's been trying to get me to change my background for like 2 years. Don't mind me.
Yeah. I do like the new TV though. That's different.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to be able to feature things like So Rare right behind you. So we go over to So Rare, earn that free limited card when you get 5 cards from the primary marketplace. Where is the primary marketplace? Well, you go to home and then you go to market. And then you could do the new card auctions. You could do the starter packs. Again, the starter packs, that's from the primary market. That's good stuff. They're usually pretty great in terms of what you're getting all together. Shows you where they would have finished in terms of the last week's performances. So you kind of know what you're getting into. If there's players that have been hurt, they're not going to usually be included in that pack unless it just recently happened. A lot of those that are spearheaded by Jaren Jackson Jr. Look at that. A lot of Jaren Jackson Jr. in their lives. But you can pick by team as well. You can go to each specific team, make sure that you get some inclusions from them. But
I have a question for producer Jordan. Can you go to the second row? Why is Delano Banton acting super tough in his photo?
Oh, Delano Banton. Delano Banton's ready to go. Yeah. He's ready to rock. Look at that.
That's how Jordan Klein poses behind the camera.
Yeah. Nothing like Delano Banton playing 2.2 minutes per game. And I don't know. It's I wouldn't want to screw with him. I'll say that. I think
how much is he for? I think that's worth a bid. I'm just kidding.
We got Neil Orfield. Thank you, Neil Orfield, for all your So Rare goodness. But we're gonna head over to the play section. So you can go to the upcoming section. I repeat, get your starter pack now. You can choose your pack. Sign up in the video description box below. Go click on that right now, too. And with MLB coming up a week from today, yeah, you heard me. I'm already hyperventilating a little bit because a lot of things to get caught up on. I've been working hard on it, but getting all my MLB stuff in play. But just saying, we've got MLB starting next week. They've got So Rare on MLB, too. I know that it's not in our contract to cover things, do whatever, but I love the MLB. Love it for DFS. Love it for So Rare as I'm looking through some of this stuff too. So get started over there. It's got a manager guide showing you exactly what's going to happen with the gameplay. I'm going to be jumping in that. I think you need to be too. It's going to be a lot of fun. But back to the NBA. We're going to talk through a couple of these plays here. And looking at Neil Orfield's lovely collection that we have going here. Thank you again, Neil. We love you. Let's go to the let's see what contest. I'm gonna jump. See everything that you have going there. All right, let's go to the limited contender. I don't want to take his limited underdog because I that's one he really wants to be focused on. But let's start off. I mean, Joel Embiid, hard to go wrong with that. James Harden sat out last game. I doubt he sits out on Friday, but Joel Embiid did get nicked up as well. Anthony Davis, because Austin Reeves is the second coming, apparently we're just going to see Anthony Davis fail to reach salary-based expectations. But now, does that say 50 next to his name? Because that is pretty cheap for Anthony Davis to start off a team.
Yeah, I think Anthony Davis, as long as LeBron James is out, and as long as Austin Reeves is in Magic Reeves, I think he should be around what is he right there? 50? What's his last 10?
Say that again.
What's his last 10?
Yeah, his last 10. 50. Yeah, he's 50.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's underpriced for you.
I'll teach you how to stunt, man. Yeah. No MVP? Oh, look at that. So it goes way off a cliff. So we got to be careful with this one. Sometimes you have the MVP ones where you can play anybody you want at any price. I think let's not do that one. Let's talk through this one because we have to strategize a little bit. Anthony Edwards has been out. He's got one game of action. We're probably not going to want to do that one. Karl Anthony Towns back. Rudy Gobert sharing the floor. We're going to see that production come down. So I think he's a wait and see guy. But Brandon Ingram, even further down there, I think he's a really good starting point there at 34. Next guy in. I think Brandon Ingram, 36. He's been down in production a little bit of late. Hard not to like getting a little bit of I don't want to say salary, but a points decrease there going towards Brandon Ingram.
I agree with you there. I think Ingram is definitely worth a shot at that price.
Don't worry, Eric. I will be changing it tomorrow anyway. Don't do that. You love me. You're going to let me play it, and you're going to give me and I'm reaping all the benefits. Yeah. Ryan Nelson, $2. Guy with that hair get beat up in LA Fitness. Was he calling him
Tekashi 6'9"?
Tekashi 6'9". Snitches get stitches. Very literally.
You know who 6'9" is?
Yeah, I do. What do you think I don't?
I'm shocked.
You kidding me? Don't. It's like it's from The Departed. I smell a rat. You don't know.
One guy to keep one guy to take a look at is potentially. Do we have Mamukelashvili available on this? Because
that would be fantastic.
Because Zach Collins is questionable for tomorrow against Washington. I think Mamukelashvili is definitely an appealing option.
Pierre, $2. Value power forwards on FanDuel under $6,000. I'll answer that here while we are building out this team. And then Neil will never change it ever in a million years. Value power forwards under 6,000. Let me just tell you, it's bleak down there because you don't have PJ Washington or Kawhi Leonard, the guys pulling ownership. Isaiah Hartenstein just locked. So yeah, it gets really bleak. I will say by far the best that you still have readily available to you, and it doesn't feel good, is going to be Marcus Morris. I think he's probably the most certain to get minutes there at 5K. You can fire him up. Larry Nance is somebody that Ryan and I both like for tournaments on this kind of a 4 slate. And then Nicholas Batum, that's your third option there. I think you can fire up. Dorian Finney-Smith is going to pull quite a bit of ownership. He's going to play 27, 28 minutes, and he's 4,600, but it's also Dorian Finney-Smith. So enjoy. Those are your 4. Those are your 4 that I got for you. But back to So Rare here. Bam on a buy. We only have 24 left. Do we have any Mamu over there, Jordan Klein?
Yeah, another guy to keep an eye on is DeMar DeRozan is potentially not going to play tomorrow against Portland. So maybe like a Kobe White or
Patrick Williams.
Alex Caruso's also questionable. So
we could go Derek Jones Jr. if there's one. If we got a DJJ down there for like 4 or 5, that would be incredible.
Well, Rodney McGruder is 23. What a time.
What a time to be alive.
Also, it might be worth replacing. Do you think it's worth replacing Davis with Embiid? Harden is questionable or doubtful tomorrow.
Who?
James Harden.
Oh no, I just started breaking down the slate like right before this show started. James Harden is. Where are my notes?
So I think if he's not going to play, we might switch him to Embiid and then play Melton from Harris. What's the pool looking like? Jordan, can you scroll down?
Jordan Poole's on the slate. Do we have Derek Jones Jr. available to us?
Can you show us like some of the cheaper options?
Okay. Yeah, I think AD might even have to get the boot in this lineup specifically. AD's going to have to hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back. Taylor Horton-Tucker, welcome to the lineup. 2 games. Yeah, we're going to play Taylor Horton-Tucker in that one. Brandon Ingram. Yusuf Nurkic. What do we think about his minutes going forward here?
He might not play tomorrow, so I don't want to.
That's what I'm worried about.
Keep going down. McConnell. I think McConnell seems like that's expensive for McConnell, but how many games does he have? 2 games?
Yeah.
Keep going down, Jordan. If Nurkic is out, should we go to Trendon Watford?
Yes, we should.
And if Jeremy Grant remains out, I think Watford could be an option.
Just smash faces? Yes, he could.
Okay, no, what else? Or Gabe Vincent continues to start.
Yeah. Josh Christopher, that is like the bleak midwinter of So Rare cards there. Nasir Little, could he get back in the mix? He was out last game.
Well, who's the Spur? Keep going down. Who's the Spur? Because Spurs are missing some guys tomorrow.
Mhm.
Oh, no. This is tough.
Oh, he has a gorgeous dong. I feel like gorgeous dong must be in a Neil Orfield lineup. I think it's required by law.
Gorglai, dang.
What'd you say? What's wrong with you, dude? I love it. Yeah, let's click on him because we are sick people. Unleash the dong.
No, unleash the Gorglai.
The gore guy. Yeah. All right. How much do we have left there? 14? 16? Gabe Vincent. Omarui. Omarui is off the bench. We can't do that. Gabe Vincent.
Yeah, Gabe Vincent. He has a game? Yeah. I think for the exercise, this is all right.
Put it in for Neil. See, we did that for Neil. Neil, I think this looks like a W. And also, I don't think these are cards you're necessarily going to use in the MVP contest. So I want to see how this does. Again, Neil and I have done shows together where we put lineups together and magical things can happen. You never know what's going to happen. I don't know. The guy won over 5K on Live Before Lock with me, his first time that we did Live Before Lock together. So happy Tuesday for Neil Orfield.
I hope you can pass on that good juju to me.
That's what I'm trying to do. How about you pass it over to me? Why are you selfish like that? Thought we were besties.
Oh my God. You know how many fantasy points Emmanuel quickly has through 4 minutes?
0.
1.5 on FanDuel.
It's not good. I don't care. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Paulo Banchero, 9 points. We didn't really mention his name.
It's wild stuff. Yeah, Paulo Banchero. He's got 10.2. Wendell Carter, 6.6. Franz Wagner, 6. Markel Fultz, 5. Quentin Grimes, the leading scorer for the Knicks. Quentin Grimes with 4.2. That's not ideal.
That is not ideal.
I'm going to say that that's bad. I won't then. LMAO.
If anyone is playing the Showdown 7:30 slate on DraftKings,
are you
playing
Jared
it? Allen is a very appealing option over there for captain and utility on the Cleveland and Brooklyn Showdown.
I wasn't going to play it, but maybe now I will. Is there a showdown on FanDuel for today? Let me see. Again, I'm just trying to. I'm like tapping into this whole new me. It's like a new leaf that I'm turning here, trying to play a little bit, mixing it up. Let's see. There is a 1K to first. Okay. I'm going to jump in that right now. I'm going to put a little Jared Allen in my life at the top at the MVP section. Get very different with it. Mitchell, Dinwiddie, then just get chalky AF because you really don't have to do anything different than that.
Do you think Ben Simmons plays another game this season?
No.
No?
Do you?
Holy shit. I hope so. It's kind of sad what happened to him.
Yeah. I mean,
actually,
it's hard to feel bad for NBA players making millions of dollars. I guess your life's under the microscope. I can feel bad for somebody for that, but also we're all judged by how we do at our work and everything else except for me, apparently, or Adam Scherer. So we all have these opportunities to just kidding. Just saying that we all have these opportunities in our lives to improve ourselves, to find new things that we care about, new passions. Maybe basketball just isn't it for Ben Simmons at this point.
No, yeah, I was kind of a Ben Simmons stan, and I just hope he can figure it out. That's all.
That would be good. Dude, long suffering such. He made so much money. Yeah, he got a max and got sent out for literally for James Harden, and Brooklyn got nothing in return. Like legitimately, they got this dude who doesn't want to play basketball, and I don't know what's going on with him. It has not been enjoyable to watch. I'll say that much.
Him and Rich Paul also broke up this week, so I don't know what's going on.
How poor guy. He has to go hang out with another model. It's terrible. Whatever. Pretty excited though for Ben Simmons conversation to die down for the first time in a long time. He just needs to be a 20-minute off the bench guy, right? Go out, play crazy defense. He's basically going to be the new Matisse Thybulle, only better in terms of,
I refuse to compare him to Matisse Thybulle.
That's what it is. That's what he looks like he should be at this point.
I mean, Matisse Thybulle is, I guess, the NBA rotational player, but Ben Simmons right now it's crazy. He's probably the worst contract in the league.
Trying to think of a worse one. Gotta be. Yeah. I can't think of a worse one off the top of my head. I mean, Gordon Hayward's isn't great, but he can play. I guess it all depends on what team you're on too and what you're trying to accomplish. There's contracts that weigh down certain teams based on what their roles were expected to be versus what they are now. Also, Kansas State and Michigan State playing does some buckets right now. 43-38 over in that one. It was just 33-28. Now it's 40-38. They scored a bunch in the last 3 minutes of that half.
Go Kansas State. Go Kansas State.
Everybody's saying Westbrook is horrible. Here's the thing. Westbrook compared to Ben Simmons, I think I'd still take Westbrook, wouldn't you? Neither are a great answer.
Yeah. I don't know. Jordan Klein, who would you take? Westbrook or Ben Simmons? He's a nice guy.
He's a great dude. Doing a lot for the city of LA.
I was talking about Kansas State, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know the guy in Florida who had the heart attack in the middle of the game is on their team? Transferred to Kansas State. I think his name is not Deontay Johnson.
Keontae Johnson. Yeah. Keontae. Yeah, he's great. What do I remember about Keontae Johnson?
He was an NBA prospect when
he
got that. Yeah, $5 million guaranteed insurance.
Unreal. He's a senior too, I believe. So is he going to go to the association after it? It's a lot of money. Yeah. You think he is? Is he projected? I'd be curious.
He was like 3 years ago. I don't know.
3 years ago. Yeah. Because I don't think he is now, but
especially in this draft class.
No, this draft class is absurd. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah. Because outside of what Brandon Miller is going to be a top 5 pick. And then there's two twins in the G League who are really good. And then Juwan Howard's son committed to the league today. Was a lottery pick as well.
Yep. He's rather good. You happy about the Juwan Howard experience so far?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Because the thing about college coaches is it's easy to let go, but it's so hard to find someone good.
Yep.
And I think he got unlucky. And also with everyone getting the COVID year, every college team is much older. There's 24-year-olds on the team. It's just he lost a bunch of one possession games. So it's just bad variance.
I hate him because he choked my buddy. You remember that? Yeah, Joe Kravinoff. Remember?
Yeah, he just had a moment. Yeah. He just had a moment.
For those who don't know, assistant coach at Wisconsin, played AAU basketball with him back at he was at Roosevelt. I was at Washington High School in South Dakota. Helped have what was that?
Did you give him buckets?
I did. I just shot. He would just do everything else. I just only shot the ball. We're not going to go down that road in the last 6 minutes of this show. That's for damn sure. But So Rare, thank you so much to them for all of the great stuff that they do for us and just, again, us being able to feature their product here on the Stokastic YouTube channel. Make sure you get that free starter pack. Make sure that Neil Orfield doesn't change this lineup so that we can win all the money over the course of the next 3 days and then give him hell. Well, I played Gorgeous Dog. That's all you wanted with your life. I don't know what else you want from me, Neil Orfield. What do you want from me? See, did you guys beat? No, I held OJ Mayo to 44 points one time.
Wow. Was it OJ Mayo?
It was unbelievable. He's 2 years older because Joe was a year older than me, and I would play up for AAU. I was just the little skinny kid who just shot the basketball. That's all I did. All I did was shoot. And OJ Mayo was the best basketball player I've ever stepped on a floor with, other than Harrison Barnes. But Harrison Barnes was like 15 or 16 when I played with him. So, I mean, he was still a monster, but is what it is. Shout out Ames, Iowa. Those are good days. Him and Doug McDermott on the same high school team, not really fair.
2 NBA players on the same high school team? And like
they were the number
Iowa?
1 high school team. Yes, so I went to Iowa State. Doug McDermott and Harrison Barnes would come to the Iowa State rec and just cause havoc. It was incredible.
Oh my God.
It was
That
that's not the duo you want.
No, that sounds kind of scary. Emmanuel quickly is fine. He has 10 fantasy points on DraftKings. I think a bit more.
Emmanuel quickly does now?
Yeah, I think
he's now the leading scorer on FanDuel, 11.4. See?
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
I love
Julius
him
Randle
so
slow
much.
start though.
Yeah, that's not good for me, especially because I don't think he ended up that popular, and I probably gave him a boost he didn't deserve in order to make sure that I got more of him. Mitchell Robinson only ended up 11% on FanDuel. I think that was pretty good tournament play. I ended up like 20%, but nothing. I played a lot of JVal with you, so I was kind of there. Julius Randle, only 11.5%. That is not good for me. I am 3x.
I think the NBA play-in game is amazing for like a fan perspective, but I really enjoy pivoting and picking out the scrubs during late season NBA. I think there's a serious edge there. And now with like the play-in game, we just get like a lot less of that, like G League players playing like 40 minutes a night type of situation, which is not fun for DFS.
Somebody asked, is Tyler Johnson still getting paid? That would be a great question. That would be a bad contract. If you're getting
God, that
paid
year
and
when
you're not
Alan
playing
Crabb
basketball.
got 75 million.
Oh my God.
Who else got paid that year? I remember
there was some
Dang.
Luol Deng got
MFA Mozgov.
bag.
That was
Luol
a year.
Deng.
What year was that? Was that 2015? Like the
Oh no. I mean, at least like the TV deals, it all makes sense how much they're getting paid now, because again, you can market yourself in such a way, social media, back end stuff. There's so many ways to get paid nowadays that, like, for a professional athlete, it's all right. Like they're going to give you whatever you want, but the team is going to make so much money off of it. So is what it is. You got somewhere to go?
Who?
You just checked your watch.
No, I was. So there's their NBA Twitter is losing their shit about Terry Rozier because something is up with Terry Rozier not showing up on any of like the props anywhere. So there's I think pre-assumed like an assumption that he might not play that's floating around NBA Twitter right now. So I'm trying to figure out if he's going to play.
Well, then I would like Dennis Smith Jr. I'll throw that out there. I'd probably also like Teo Maledon at that point, or Svi Mikhailuk, which are two names I never thought I would ever say in a million years.
I think he's going to play. I think NBA Twitter is just losing their mind.
Okay, well, they need to shut up and chill. Randall needs to step it up. No kidding, friend. That is for damn sure. We're going to get ourselves out of here, though, because this was a great show. Slate Starter was back in action. My buddy Ryan, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, good luck. Keep an eye on news, and I'll be back. This was a ton of fun.
I'll be back. It's good stuff. Thank you to Jordan Klein. Got off to a rough start because he's an idiot. But other than that, we had a lot of fun. Always an enjoyable experience. We'll be back tomorrow. Just looked at the schedule. Greg and myself. Woo. Schedule starts normal tomorrow. Woo. See you later. Looking forward to that.